I'd like to call the May 15th, 2025 Montecito Board of Architectural Review to order. First item on the agenda is public comment for items not or issues not on our agenda today. Is there anybody that would like to address the board, please?
Seeing no hands raised.
Agenda status report.
All right, late hitting news. We have lost quorum for two of our items. I did reach out to both of the applicant teams and they would both like to be continued to the next meeting on May 29th. So that's item number C1, the Westmont Tennis Building, and item number 4, the Johnston Trust retaining walls at 935 Mariposa Lane. Yes, please.
What do you do that,
Yeah,
please?
I'll make a motion to continue item C1 955 La Paz Road to the next M-Bar meeting, and item what item
4.
is- and item 4 935 Mariposa Lane. Can I make that motion?
Yeah. Is
To
there a
the
second,
next.
please. Second. All those discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed. Minutes. Do we have a quorum for this? Members absent tip, so we don't have a quorum. You can't vote on it.
We can, if it's not critical, we could always bump them to the next meeting.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, next item is members informational briefing. Anybody, please?
Nothing.
Staff update, please.
Staff has no updates.
Excellent, thank you. Montecito consent calendar, we only had one item, which is being continued, so we are now on item number.
I forgot. I won't be here the next meeting.
Okay. So if people didn't hear it, item number 4 is being continued if you have interest in that. Item number 1, 1641 East Valley Road, please.
Hello,
Hi there. Speak up, please, so we can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great. This is Erica Obertelli for Buildston Architecture and Planning.
Okay.
Nice to see you today.
Ellen Buildston, architect.
So this project is a minor addition to a single family home. You can see on the parcel map on the bottom right where it's located off of East Valley Road.
Can I interrupt for a second? For those that have been around for a while, Sophie Calvin did several projects on this particular site. Okay. Please go ahead.
Certainly. We're proposing a minor addition to a single family residence. Some updates to the fenestration, a minor addition to the ADU,
Which we do not discuss here.
and a pool. Can you please move to the next page? Continue. Here are some images showing the vicinity. So you can see the driveway coming into the site on the bottom right. There's an aerial view above that, and a couple of views at the street. The one thing I'd like to point out from these photos is there's very little visible from the street at all for this property. You move to the next page, please. These are images of the existing ADU. Please continue.
With this meeting.
Understood, thank you. And these are images of the existing house. Please continue. Here you see the survey showing the existing house to the bottom right and the open grassy area north of that and the driveway to the bottom left. Please continue. Site plan shows the location of the spa, pool, and then the addition to the house on the bottom right behind the garage. There's some minor changes to paving. Please continue. 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 Please continue through to the landscape plan there. This shows the replacement of one tree in front of the house. And there was a stone pine between the driveway and the lawn that died, and so we're replacing that as well. Please continue. Demo to the house is largely at the garage end of the house. The garage had been converted to habitable space. We'll be reverting it to a garage. Please continue. This shows the addition on the southwest side of the house, as well as a little bit of reconfiguration of the kitchen and powder room area. Please continue. We'll skip this. This shows the new roofs to the south of the house, as well as a new entry, a covered entry. Please continue. We'll skip this. These are the elevations of the east and west ends of the house, both existing and proposed. You can see the changes are very minimal. Please continue. And then here you see the addition to the south side of the house. Again, the changes are quite minimal. And then the new entry. Please continue. We'll skip this. And here are a couple of views showing both from the driveway and then from the property, the way in which the house looks as proposed. That concludes our presentation. We're hoping that you'll move us forward to preliminary final for this project.
We are on for concept today, but very good,
Yeah.
thank you. Was there an FAR worksheet on there? Can we go look at that? Okay, so questions, Rob, please.
Property has a nice feel to it.
It does.
So is on the landscape plan, these folks are missing kind of tree call outs, plant palette. Is that somewhere that I'm not seeing?
This is on concept. We don't normally get that till later.
We'll have that with our next presentation.
So then along those lines, it looks like there's some kind of some nice geometric. Or could you just, I guess, on the, what is the layout, the theme on the hardscape landscape? I mean, I see some geometry, the beginnings of some geometry.
Absolutely. I'm happy to answer that. The current owners really like the current plantings and the feel that the site has. There's a bowl to the lawn. And so the design concept was, let's emphasize the bowl that there is, and then draw on the curve between the house and the ADU and the way in which those spaces relate. Emphasize that really lovely front garden space, and then create better access between the back existing outdoor kitchen and the interior of the house. Those were the primary goals. So trying to improve the outdoor areas while maintaining the loveliness, as you said, of what we have currently.
Were you required, is there pool safety fencing, or were you able?
We'll have a perimeter fence around the property.
Okay, and so then on the south side, then what is that use? I mean, you've kind of got like, there's a pool area on one side of the house, and then there's a whole nother kind of other side of the house.
There's an existing outdoor kitchen and sort of dining area to the south side of the house.
Okay, and there was no notion of the fact that those things are separated.
We spend a lot of time going back and forth on the different ways in which things are configured, and this will work well for the ways in which the owners would like to use the house.
Okay, thank you.
Chip, questions, please. Bill?
Nothing's built over the setback, it looks like, and the driveway and the gate and the parking is all existing, is that right?
That's correct. No, we're just restoring the garage.
Right, thanks.
I have no questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 1641 East Valley Road, please?
No request to speak.
Comments, Rob, they want to go to prelim final, which,
Okay.
and your comment about that?
So I mean, generally, I appreciate where you're going and I see the beginnings of some geometry in the way you laid out the hardscape and the way you laid out those elements. It looks to me that you could kind of take it a step further in some of the key elements and kind of having things line up on axis in a certain sense, and then develop score patterns that kind of emphasize, that kind of reinforce some of the geometry that you've started. So I think I like where you're going with it. I think it could be, if you look at it, you spend more time on it, I think you could develop to a whole nother level that'll make it even more successful. But I like the feel of your project. And
Thank you.
Comments, Tip?
I think this project is probably ready for preliminary final on consent item.
You're good with it besides that? Yeah, Bill, comments, please?
Yeah, I pretty much concur. It was a little hard to read your elevations there. It looked like you didn't have a lot of windows, but that's function of the building, it looked like, but otherwise, I'm fine with what you got going there. Yeah, well, is what it is. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Can we go to the FAR worksheet, please? There is a covered kitchen, which when you look at the various this and that needs to be accounted for on this worksheet. And under that second part, whatever it is, it's probably 100 square feet or 150. It's not going to make any difference, but okay. And besides that, I'm also very good with preliminary, final, and consent. I think it's a nice project.
Thank you very much.
So we do not have a motion because it's on concept. We'll see you as soon as you and Kina can get you back on here.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you now. Item number 2615 Hot Springs Road. Daryl, are you with us?
Yeah, John, Daryl Becker with Becker Studios and Derek Eichelberger's here also with Arcadia Studios to present 615 Hot Springs. It's a garage addition. This is the site. Overall, I'll just start with the FAR. We're at 115 FAR. Our second sheet that we've provided does an area neighborhood study, and we're at 115. The neighbor to the south of us, if you go to the second PDF, neighbor to the south is at 118. We got 102 above us, 103 above them, and right directly behind us, 126. The majority of this site, or the property, is comprised of the main residence and an attached ADU. And so the garage is one of the only accessory buildings. The only other accessory building on the site is a very small cabana of 200 square feet. So this detached garage is a new garage of 843 total square feet. And if you'll move to the fourth page, it'll give you kind of a neighborhood overview there, and properties across the street. There's a number of properties under construction directly across the way on Hot Springs. The next page is our finished palette, which basically matches the existing residence. And we're just intending to match all the finishes that already exist on site. The next sheet is the existing site plan. And the next page is our proposed site plan. And you'll see that our intention is to put the garage in the front motor court with the garage doors facing inward toward the property. And we're also correcting and providing a proper turnaround and motor court at the front entry to the residence, which if you'll flip back to the prior site plan, you'll see that it's just not very functional. You can't really get, pull up without causing a traffic jam. So you can go ahead and go 2 more sheets in, and that'll give us a floor plan of the garage. So it's essentially just a very straightforward 3-car garage. 1 additional sheet gives you the elevations. 1 more, there you go. So the motor court elevation would be the 3 carriage doors. The back of the garage has a couple windows because we want to let a lot of the north light in. And then facing the residence, we have a man door with a window in the westerly elevation. And we have the same thing on the easterly elevation. That's kind of it in a nutshell, other than the landscape plan. And if you'll go to that, I think it's the last page in the set.
Hello, board. Yeah, as Daryl showed in his site plan, the edge of the existing driveway to the north is about 18 to 24 inch stone wall, which sort of divides that whole area where the new garage is as landscape that you can't even access. So that wall is coming out. We're redoing the whole edge of the motor court and adding a planter island in the middle with a new tree. That's pretty much it.
Are you guys done then?
Yeah, that's it.
I submitted a neighborhood compatibility study, which
Okay.
is, there's that. So the green X's are things within the circle that I didn't do. And then the next page. This is right at like 76% of the neighborhood. Okay,
Okay.
just for everyone's reference. Okay, thank you. Questions, Bill?
Yeah, so the area there is that, so there's 2 garages, you're adding a new one, and then there's an existing garage there? Is that where that motor court?
That's correct. There's a
okay.
tucked-in existing small 2-car garage.
Okay, and does that existing motor court go right up to the property line? Is there a way that you could pull that back and get a little buffer there?
Well, that's what we did do. If you go to the existing, I think it's PDF 6 there, the existing motor court actually drives you into the front door of the house. And so the only planter at all is this little finger planter right to the right of what's labeled the existing breezeway enclosure. And so what we've done and what Derek has undertaken to done with the landscape plan is to add landscape at the front of the residence and then create a proper motor court around a pepper tree that's in the center of the motor court.
I'm actually, Daryl, I'm actually talking about the top of the page, the north side, where it butts up against the property line there. Is that necessary, or can you pull that back to get a little bit of green space, a couple feet between the site wall at the property line, whatever is going on there?
The neighbor has a hedge behind that wall, and that grade is cut in about 3 feet there, I think 2 or 3 feet. So I would normally say yes, but that is a sandstone wall with a hedge that's on the neighbor's property along that elevation. So, I mean, normally I would love to see landscape along there, but it doesn't physically read on site as it's indicated here because of the neighbor's hedge.
Okay, thank you.
See Google Earth, please. Google Earth Pro. Gotta do it the right way.
Yeah.
One reason for having a little bit of a planting there sometimes is just simply so you don't hit the wall, and that kind of stops you.
I mean, we could put some vines or something on that wall or something like that.
Let's keep going. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep
pull
going.
this in tight.
Can you get maybe a little bit more vertical? Or maybe spin it clockwise?
Daryl, do you have any photos of that particular wall?
I don't know, I'm looking right now.
What he's
Submitted.
showing is that that wall is there, like he described, with fairly decent planning on the other side, so. Okay, anything else?
No.
Tip, questions, please.
Can I see the FAR calculation, the actual form? So, the, and I know we're not talking about this, but the ADU just been completed, am I right?
Yeah, it was, we weren't affiliated with the project. This house, it was sold about a,
And,
months a year ago.
and the reason you're not calculating it, because it's attached to the main house.
That's correct.
And the attachment, how wide the attachment based on the roof plan?
It's
How,
not that freestanding cabana.
Huh?
It's not the freestanding cabana, which is what I think you're thinking.
it's
it is.
attached.
I'm
at the
thinking about the
back.
wing in the back. The
See-
rabbit, the connection.
Yeah, do you see the cabana in the middle? The ADU is to the right of it, that little L that returns in.
Yeah, the L shape is the ADU, am I right?
Yes,
And then with an attachment to the main house. That little breezeway,
no, it's a physical connection.
can you zoom in that portion a little bit?
Floor
There's no
plan,
door
floor-
from the main house to it. There's an outside door, but it's physically connected by roof.
Yeah, just zoom, I mean, there's no floor plan. You zoom into the connection real quick.
You have a floor plan there, Derek?
I mean, this is good enough, that's all I want to see.
Yeah, it's one continuous
It's-
roof.
Yeah, huh?
Supposed to be 7 feet.
Yeah, 7 or 10 feet when you,
It's not 10.
it's to consider the connection. And this is the roof overhang, so the connection, it seemed like, I don't know, I don't have a scale here, but it looked like
A wall.
yeah, but it had to be a certain width.
You have a floor plan, Daryl?
If we've submitted- I don't know that we've submitted that.
It
I
seemed.
certainly could submit it again.
Okay, so what's your comment, Tip?
I'm getting to, my question because it seems
question.
like, the connection is a breezeway. And that's what it looks like. And if that's the reason why the FAR is actually, lower than it's stated. And I'm just looking at the site of, 1 acre and the number of buildings. And, the reason kind of interesting because on the county record, it says 7,000 square feet. On the study that you provided or John did. So I want to know really, what's really the FAR? That's just a question. I don't think 116 is the correct number.
So-
We have the total gross square footage listed.
Daryl, we can't resolve this today because you don't have a floor plan.
Got it.
Okay? Rob, questions?
So one of my questions is on the gravel, I thought the county pushed back on having gravel so close to the public road. I've heard different distances and then just in general, I've heard it was up to 100 feet. in terms of, because they don't want the gravel being tracked onto the public roads. What's your folks' understanding of that rule?
Well, I mean, we're not making a change in that. There is currently a hardscape, which is stone cobble from the road tie-in through the entry gate, and it's currently a chip seal in the driveway and the motor court. We're just gonna be.
Oh, it's chip seal. It's not gravel. It's not
Correct,
gravel
it's
then.
chip seal.
Okay,
yes.
so that's a little bit more tamped
Yeah.
down. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that, even that has some issues. Anyways, you might just look at that. They might push back on you on that. I personally like it a lot. I think it's a great look, so. And then this is just kind of out of my own, I guess, the way I design things and the restrictions that I look at stuff when with the garage. Sometimes as far as laying out the garage, I try to kind of lay the plane of new elements like that in the same plane as the architecture. Did you folks consider that, or is there reason for, what is your thinking as 45ing it as opposed to when I have a chance to have the geometry of the garage kind of aligned with the main footprint of the house? I'll try to go there if it works.
Well, there is screening from the street, and what we were trying to do is, the visual approach to the house is now gonna be the pepper tree and the center focus. And so, we could have turned it 90 degrees, but that would be a larger mass facing the street. So we wanted to minimize the mass to the street, which is, we kind of tucked it in behind the trees that are at the front of the property to minimize the mass. So, a client can come in, they can either turn to the right towards the garage, or that a guest could drive straight in and clearly see that there's a turnaround. I definitely understand your comment. We didn't want it as linear down the property line either, and that's why we kicked it at an angle, just because it seems to work with a motor court.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not convinced that there's an exact right way, but I was just asking
I
on that.
agree.
And then on the landscape plan, we're at concept, right? You don't have to provide more information than what you provided?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
I don't think I have any questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 2, 615 Hot Springs Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, so I think that there's a fairly important issue that I'm not sure we can address here. We can go through the comments, but, okay, so comments, Bill.
Yeah, I think where you're hedging is that considered attached? At 115, looking at the study, I'm fine with it. Garage is well done. I don't have any problem with the way it looks. It's just whether or not, at the end of the day, and planner would be looking at it too to determine whether or not the FAR is 115 or is it quite a bit more than that. So that would be the only hesitation I have. The second thing, I would still, unless you can provide photos and make that look better than it looks in plan, the driveway motor court going right up to the property line to me seems a little intense, and I would suggest maybe pulling it back and getting a couple of feet of planter there just to soften, even if it's low ground cover. And as Rob said, it could be a wheel stop and cars could cantilever over, or maybe it's fines that climb up that wall. I don't know what that looks like yet, so in plan, I would say I'd like to see some greenery against the property line there. And that's it.
Yep, comments, please.
Yeah, just by looking at the site plan, I have a feeling that this is way overdeveloped. And I just have a feeling that the previous team obviously did this intentionally to bring down the FAR. You count that the FAR would get to be a 1.35 to 1.4. So yeah, unless you come back with a compelling attachment of somehow between the two areas and not just a breezeway outside connection and there's a room or something. Right now, it just looks like a two separate um, buildings. And I don't think you can even meet the zoning code to call it as a one building. So because of that, yeah, I mean, it had to be resolved, that issue.
Any comments besides that?
Well, it's gated, it's private. I think I think the paving is much more than what I'd like to see. And I want to, even though I'm seeing that you're trying to do something to soften it, but I think just too much paving, and I think that you can find a way to reduce it and make the front a little more attractive.
Rob, comments, please.
Yeah, I actually agree with that last comment from Tip. I think there are things you can do to pull, add landscaping, pull pull some of the hardscape in. But I mean, mostly, I mean, I'm fine with your project in terms of where it's going. And I agree with Bill, you could have a 3 foot wide, planting down at the base of that wall, as a wheel stop and then prevent people from hitting the wall. And then my only other comment, and at this point, I think it'll be resolved when you do the landscape plan, but the bioretention area doesn't really work with the contours. So it'd be, if you're going to do something like that, it's nice to make that kind of an element that is an attribute to the project, and so that it should, the shape of it should kind of be consistent with what the contours are, or work within the realm of the contours. But I'm fine with your project and would support it, coming back to the full board just to work out these issues.
Well, as everybody that's associated with this project and the board knows, I'm not a big fan of things over 110 on an FAR. I think Tip's point is very well taken, and it's, as I understand it, it's 7 feet of common wall. So I think that what we should do is let me ask you this question. So if the planner, I'm going to ask the planner to review this with her supervisor or whatever and make a determination if that's attached or detached. So if it's, it's an anomaly in our guidelines, I didn't do it. I tried to stop it, but this was 7 or 8, 10 years ago. And why don't we get them to Keena? Keena, are you with us? Yes? Keena? Yana? Okay, well, maybe not. Okay, so I think that we should have the planner in consultation with the supervisors make that determination and get back to me as chair. If it's an attached building, can we support this? And if so, does this need to do anything more than preliminary final on consent? If it's not attached, I think it should come back to the full board. Because I think at that point, it's at 115. Yeah, it's going to get up maybe as high as 140. So maybe not quite that high. I'm not quite sure where it will end up. But do we agree with that approach?
Yeah.
And then come back?
Except, I felt this way about the last project, is I think these projects should come to the full board, even if they're a slam dunk on it coming into consent on like even the last project. There's enough information from where they were on the last project and this project that I think take a look at it.
Okay.
And we can move it on pretty quickly, but.
Okay, so members of the board, is that an approach that we want to do? Yeah. So how do people feel about preliminary final, full board versus preliminary final consent on this project?
It's fine with me.
Full board?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should be, I think should be full board because I think that's more to it than we see here.
Okay, so no matter what, full board. Preliminary final though, right? Okay,
Maybe a few more site photos would be helpful too, if you guys are making your arguments anyway.
Thank
It'd be
you.
nice to see that existing building and that connection and maybe the site wall there.
yeah, you know, this is an example of why I have a great deal of distaste for the ADUs. This thing, that a good deal of that project of the ADU is in the rear yard setback, you know, and it's just, anyway. So gentlemen, we will see you at the full board one way or the other, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, item number 3, item number 4, if anybody's here for a public comment or something, has been continued. So we will not be having item number 4 today. Item number 3, 319 Hot Springs Road, please. So is anybody here for that? Chase, maybe? Anybody? Item number 3. Item number 3. Is there somebody named Chase online or Excelsior Development LLC?
This is debris flow.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna, let's move this a little later in the agenda, just give them a chance to get on here. Item number 5, 104 San Ysidro Road, please. Anybody here for that? Ah, you just got here in time. And should we not hear you? Yeah, let's get started with that, or maybe you can text or something. Try to keep the meeting moving. Okay, item number 5, further concept. MBAR comments. MBAR likes the architecture, refine, clarify plans and presentation, restudy garage location, functionality, and site layout, consider relocating garage or detaching from residence, reduce hardscape, increase landscape. And there's a memo about the history. And if we can we just kind of, this is more about the gutter, right? For some weird reason, is that right?
Yes, it's partially about the gutter,
Yeah.
but it's more about the historical nature of the home.
Okay, so Dave, can we move down this, down to conclusions or findings or whatever it is? No, up. Summary is, summary of statements, oh, okay, right there. After implementing the proposed project, the house would, its integrity of location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association, allowing it to maintain its status as a potential County of Santa Barbara landmark and its status as a national history eligible property and its inclusion to the state historic resources inventory. Therefore, project impacts on historical resources are less than significant. Okay. So that's just the house. It's not the landscaping in the site plan, correct? Right. Okay. So well, we somehow we have to get, let's give David a minute or two to get caught up here. Next page, there is their turn.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Watson and members of the board. My name is Kevin. I'm an architectural project manager at Clear Architecture, and I'm joined today by members of the project team, including Lindsay Campbell, also from Clear. We'll also have Courtney Miller and Brooks Mickelson from CJM shortly as well. We are here for further conceptual review of a residential remodel project with a modest 93 square foot addition at 104 San Ysidro Road. It's a half-acre parcel located just adjacent to the intersection of San Ysidro and Jamison Lane. During our initial conceptual review in January, we received thoughtful and constructive comments from the board, especially regarding site circulation and opportunities for reducing hardscape and enhancing the landscaping. We've returned today with a refined approach that integrates those priorities, and we look forward to sharing these updates with you. Next sheet, please. So we are here for your consideration for the following project scope: a re-envisioned site and landscape plan, which is what the bulk of this design is. New windows and doors to improve the energy and acoustic performance while maintaining the historic profiles. A 93 square foot hallway addition at the south of the residence, and a new trellis structure as well. And then the existing structures on site, just for reference, we have a 3,340 square foot main residence, zone 20 R1, and a few structurally unsound structures, a 410 square foot garage and a 474 square foot accessory building, both which are proposed for demolition. And I'll expand upon that momentarily as well. One note to our project description: we are proposing grading, including approximately 200 cubic yards of cut and about 100 cubic yards of fill. It is our intention, as we refine the plans and calculations, to balance the amount of cut and fill on site with our civil engineer. We are also in compliance with the floor area ratio guidelines. I'll point you to our calculator and project statistics worksheet, which shows that we are at 106% maximum house net floor area. Next sheet, please. You can zoom out just a little bit. Thank you. So here we're providing the contextual imagery showing the property from San Ysidro Road and Jamison Lane. So on the left-hand side of the sheet are the views from San Ysidro, and then at the bottom from Jamison Lane. These perspectives show areas where the property can be partially viewed from the street and the relationship with the neighboring structures. As you will see, the property is largely concealed by hedging and site gates, and characteristic of this hedgerow district. Next sheet, please. These site photos document the existing state of the residence and the accessory structures. Our approach aims to preserve and rehabilitate the historic nature of the home. Of note, if you look at the bottom right image, image 5, the existing garage and accessory structures are visible. Our structural engineer, Ashley and Vance, identified extensive deterioration, including dry rot, foundation compromise, and cracked slabs, which necessitated the demolition for life safety. And a letter has been uploaded along with our presentation on ASILA. Next sheet, please. This is our demolition site plan. This plan illustrates the removal of the 2 accessory structures and the shed behind. You can see there at the east, and then the existing driveway and concrete hardscape areas to the north of the residence that are no longer compatible with our revised layout. Next sheet, please. This is our proposed site plan. In response to the January hearing, the board offered the following comments. MBAR likes the architecture, refine, clarify the plans and presentation, reduce hardscape, increase landscape areas, and restudy the garage location, functionality, and site layout. Consider relocating garage or detaching from the residence. As we now dive into our drawings, we do have a brief summary of our responses to these comments. Regarding the hardscape, we have eliminated that long drive aisle just to the north of the house and relocated the motor court closer to San Ysidro Road, just north of that Canary Island palm that's closer to San Ysidro. Courtney will discuss this further in depth later in the presentation. And our response for the garage, based on your feedback, we did explore a garage that was detached near the front of the site. And we did come up with a workable solution from a site planning and fire safety standpoint. However, based on input from our historian, Tim Hazeltine, this would have obstructed key historic views from the north and the west of the site. The house's original historic character would thus be impacted. As a result, Tim could not be supportive of the relocation to match the site's historical nature. We have opted for an open air permeable motor court instead, protected from the road and the residents by landscaping in place of a garage. We also have proposed new curb cut and retaining the existing easement that provides access to the Jameson fronting property to the south. That's just the hardscape you see south of the Canary Island Palm. We are showing improved stormwater management through the reduction of the impermeable surfaces, essentially less hardscape on the site, more landscaping, and we do show a wheelchair accessible pathway from the motor court to the front door. Next sheet, please. These are our demolition site plans. They show the removal of select interior walls and exterior decks to allow for the interior reconfiguration.
We rarely review floor plans.
Yeah. So you can skip through this. This is our roof plan. There's a portion of the roof converting a lean-to section to a gable profile. You can see that's the area highlighted in red to harmonize with the home's traditional craftsman style architecture. And we are reducing the eave overhangs from 42-inch to 32-inch to increase natural light while matching existing eastern roof lines within the historical boundaries. Next sheet, please. This is our materials board. Our palette respects the home's historical character. And we worked very closely with Tim Hazeltine to create a palette that respects the design language of the existing historical home. You can see bottom right, shaker style siding. Kind of in the middle, we have Class A fire rated composite cedar shake roofing. Natural stone skirting just to the left of that wraps the house, and dark sky compliant exterior lighting. You can go to the next sheet. These are our elevations. So you'll see the existing on the top and the proposed on the bottom. This is the north elevation. So this is the entry side. This is the historical dominant axis of the site facing the new mortar court, the pool, and the pergola. Next sheet. This is the south elevation, the rear yard with the gable roof replacing the lean-to over the pantry. You can see that over to kind of the middle, right of center. Next sheet. This is our east elevation. This overlooks the meditation garden and shows the pergola relationship to the main residence. And you can also see the relationship of the pool to the house as well. Next sheet. Finally, the west elevation. This is the one that faces San Isidro Road in the motor court. And we do have an elevation of the pergola. If you go to the next sheet, low profile screen with landscaping to provide privacy between the outdoor living space and the motor court, and within kind of the scale of the residence, right below the roof line of the existing home. Next sheet. We do have some renderings here to show you as well. These help visualize the scale, materials, and landscape context. Here on A701, this is a view looking north from the bocce court towards the house and the 57-inch heritage oak tree, which we really feel provides this stunning canopy at the back of the site and is really an amazing component of the site overall. Next sheet, please. This is a view from the approach of the motor court with the pergola just to the left. Shows the entry sequence. So you're standing north, you're looking southeast. And one more sheet. Staying here at the north for the next sheet. Or yeah, there it is. Staying here at the north, this is the pool side, basically looking southwest towards the main house. At this point, I'll hand it over to Courtney from CJM to speak further about the landscape design vision, planting strategy, and pedestrian experience.
Thank you. Let's go to the next sheet, please. So this is our tree protection plan. I believe there's 13 total existing trees. We're planning on removing 3. You can see those at the upper left. There's photos on the subsequent page if you're curious to see what those look like, but they're pretty mangled and not protected species. Pittosporum and then kind of like a deformed jacaranda. So those will be coming out to make room for our driveway. Let's go to the next page. And arborist report from Duke McPherson, next page. So this is our new site plan. As Kevin mentioned, we did some reconfiguring and have removed the garage. So that eliminates the need for that extremely long driveway that we had in the previous plan. If you zoom in on the plan itself, I think that would be helpful to get everyone oriented. Yeah, so because of the scale of the house, we felt it would be important to still kind of divide the site into a series of smaller garden rooms, which also is in keeping with the arts and crafts style that we're going for here. So we have our motor court at the front. We're considering that to be a palm garden. We are keeping that canary palm. I feel pretty strongly about that. It's important and a significant part of the front of the property. So we're going to be working with that. And then as you move along the north side of the house, we have our outdoor living, a small pool. Really happy with this layout as it, kind of integrates the pool more into a garden space rather than what it was before, which felt overly commercial, I think. And then as we move towards the back, we have kind of a private garden area with a shed. The shed will also house our pool equipment. And we have a production garden there, veggie beds, kind of a passive, like beautiful seating area there with a fountain. And then moving along down under the oak tree, that's more of what we're calling a whimsical garden. We have a gravel area there that could be used for like bocce or pétanque, something like that. And a series of decks built around that existing oak tree, more of a playful kind of sculptural element. And then as you move along the south side of the house, kind of another outdoor gathering space. We have a fire pit there and a small seating area flanked by more kind of perennial garden style beds on either side. And then you could zoom out. We have some imagery along the bottom of this page speaking to the style of what we're after. Couple things about the front of the property. I think we went through that in the last hearing, just explaining there's an existing easement there and we have required access that we have to maintain. But aside from that, there are these two existing stone columns. So there's an image there on the bottom right from the original property that we feel are really important. And so we're trying to work with those in the front of the property and kind of create a garden around them. So it's difficult to see, but the image on the left shows the construction fencing. The columns are kind of in the middle, and then to the right, one of them is covered in a vine. So we'll be keeping both of those and then spanning that distance with a hedge in lieu of a fence so that it feels more like a garden. And there's still privacy to the main road there. And then the last page is just our plant palette. So you take a look at that. It hasn't changed from the last time we came. So lots of flowering things and going for a little bit more of formality here. So we have some clipped hedges and more topiary style of plantings as well. Look forward to your questions and
Were you
comments.
guys done then, please? Okay. Questions, Tip, please.
No questions.
Rob, questions?
I don't have any questions.
Bill?
What's the path materials that you have that are kind of rectilinear forms there? You want to go to the site?
If we could flip to the previous page.
Is it gravel or is it?
Mostly
Really?
gravel. Yeah, we wanted to have a lot of the paths are secondary around the kind of the perimeter and through the gardens. And then the brownish color in the middle, those are brick, where the
Okay.
patio is and
So the light
trellis.
reddish brown is gravel.
Yep.
And then down in the outdoor gathering space, those two areas that are right and left there, is that a site wall around it? Is it, how tall is that? Or is that just a planter area or what are those?
Thank you. Those are just intended to be probably like a low brick curb, just to delineate more formalized planting beds, like what you would see in a traditional perennial planting.
Last question at the, that entry roof there, it was kind of a low pitch, almost flat. And you're coming in and you're adding another higher gable to match the other roofs. Do you have some leeway in how that roof can kind of connect, or is it, I mean, it looks a bit like a shed still in between two bigger pieces when you look at the render and the elevations. Keep going, Dave.
Yeah, is your concern here the height, the scale?
That north elevation there, that piece in the back there, is that the entry or is that the?
The entry.
The entry is the other door, more to page right. It was the historical entrance of the house.
Oh, okay.
So we're restoring the main entry to its historical location, and the door at the pitch is a secondary entrance.
So this one we're seeing on the north elevation is secondary elevation.
Yes, and the main entry is visible to the right of that door if
Oh,
we
I
zoom
see.
in.
Okay. And do you have any leeway with that roof there? Because you're changing that roof, I can see from the north above to the north below.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the lean-to is connected to it, but it wasn't a historic property of the house. So we're creating a bit more of a higher profile at that point to match the other roof slopes for the rest of the house.
You have some leeway there. Okay, thanks.
Sound from the freeway. Have you guys addressed that? And I'm thinking mostly about the landscaping. I know you can do the house with this and that. The south side of the house, noise, freeway. What are you doing? Anything?
Well, there's not a lot to do. We have,
You could build a wall.
we could, we're not planning to. We just have vegetative screening right now.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 5, 104 San Ysidro Road, please?
Seeing no requests.
Okay, so we are on for concept today. Tip.
Yeah, so I like the architecture and I think landscaping is very nice. I think we definitely can support it to go to preliminary final on consent.
Okay, we'll see what someone else says. Rob, speaking of which,
I think. Oh, we go there. What we've done, what you folks have done here, getting rid of the road going all the way to the back is huge. I got confused for a moment and I saw the existing site plan with the curved road going to the back, and I thought that was the new one. So, but I think you've done a really nice job. I like everything with it. I like the plant palette. I like the fact that it's that it's got a little bit of Santa Barbara subtropical to it, but yet still is drought tolerant. There is a way to do that. John's comment on the freeway, you could add a fountain urn or something along that side and at least have a distraction with some noise. And my only caution is there's, sometimes I don't have a feel for the size of this property. And so there's always the chance that you might look at trying to even simplify things. There's a danger of stuff getting too busy. And that's really a function of the scale and the size. And I don't have a really good feel for that, not having been on the site. So that would be the only thing as you move this along that I'd have you look at. Now, I would move it to preliminary final, but all the consent stuff comes to me. And so I think we have a full board, so I'd like to take advantage of the other landscape architect and the other board members. I know it'll move through fast, but rather than going to consent, I like to see it go to the full board in case, so that all this is developed, in a meaningful way. But I support your project and think it's very nice.
Oh, comments, please.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the driveway off and really kind of dressing up the rear yard and removing the garage. And I think that's a wonderful thing. It looks really great. I appreciate all the landscape elements that you have. As Rob said, you have a lot of nodes. You've got, 5 or 6 different places where you can kind of hang out, which is kind of cool. But maybe it's a lot. I'm okay with what you've got. Looks great. And I would just maybe look at that little roof element between those two structures there. It just felt a little awkward to me. I'm fine with it if that's what you need to do and that's the way it's going to work. But I think there's probably a better way to do it, and you can make it work even better and feel like it's original and it was connected all along, and it wasn't like this piece that got kind of jammed in between. I could support bringing it back for preliminary final. Well, the full board is fine, because I think we could go through it pretty quickly with your details and lighting and all of that pulled together, so.
Most projects we see, we do what we can to make projects better. Most times we get 10%, maybe 15% movement. This is like 100% in terms of that whole landscaped area. This is what I had wanted. Not this exact plan, but the concept. And so I think it's going to be a very, very nice project. Except I think it's going to be noisy on the south side. The north side, the house, I think is going to block most of that sound. But the sun tends to be on the south side, and people like to be in the sun in Santa Barbara. So I would very much encourage you to reconsider the uses on the south side of the property. If you want to come back with this, I'm going to vote for it, not a problem. But, is there a way to get a wall or a series of walls? Are there fountains or something like that that will be distractive or sympathetic to the freeway noise so that you can't distinguish between the two? I would thought that the concept of a meditation garden this close to the freeway was a kind of an oxymoron, so as much as I do meditate, and it's tends to be a very, 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 very quiet exercise. So anyway, I like what you've done. I'm just trying to get you to have a even better project. And if you haven't been to the site recently, go over there right now, because I'm sure the freeway, where we were at 2:00, it's not going to be super heavy, but anyway, enough said. And then I think from an architectural standpoint, you know what STC ratings are? Yeah, so you know how to deal with that. Yeah, and triple glazing. Now, elevations, please. Yeah, that last one. The window, there are the proportions of cut-ups and the scale of cut-ups. For instance, on the left-hand side, there's 2 small windows and then 2 large windows. And the size of those cut-ups, when you look at the window on the right-hand side, it does not look like it's part of the same house or thought pattern. So, I think that you guys could do more about integrating it into a single thing than this. Again, I'm not going to not vote for it, but I think that just a critical eye looking at it, I think you might be able to find some kind of common ground there in terms of the feel of those windows. When you're inside and you've got a small pane, it's really a whole lot different than if you've got a medium-sized pane. So I don't know that anybody is ever going to see that except the people on the inside of the property, but so that's it. So full board, preliminary final, everybody okay? Okay, very, very, very nice job. See you guys soon. Okay, item number 3, we skipped because nobody was here. Has anyone Is anyone now here for item number 319 Hot Springs Road? Okay, we will continue on to item number 6. 756 Hot Springs Road. Diane, are you with us? Okay. Let me see, we had some comments. MBAR members expressed concern regarding FAR overage, size, bulk, scale, and blocky appearance. As designed, MBAR will have difficulty supporting the project. One member will not support proposed FAR overage. Restudy massing, roof lines, plate height, consider design options that would minimize bulk and mass of structure. Restudy proportions of windows and parapet. Restudy exterior staircase. Restudy floor plan and options for efficiency in the layout that could reduce floor area. Study options for natural light and ventilation for the interior rooms. Study site plan, depict paths and walkways, restudy the location and orientation of the garage. So Diane, floor is yours.
Thank you. Along with the owner and builder, Chad, and his wife, Haley. And they purchased this house about a year ago. It was built in 1978, and it needs entire renovation. They want to fully renovate it and add some area to make it more useful for their family. The following renovations are redone since our last visit with you. We heard your comments and have redesigned. So we should probably go to the proposed site plan A1.1. And firstly, we want to remove the attached 4-car garage in the northeast corner of the house and make space for more bedrooms. They have 4 children at this time. And then a new attached 2-car garage is proposed to be attached in the basement level. So previously we had shown a detached garage, and that is removed from our proposal, as you recall. A new front entryway is proposed facing the private road on the right side, which is really serving as a driveway to this parcel and the one to the north, just the 2 properties. The new entry, we did, in the entire design, we did bring the square footage down and also shrank the plate heights as well, so I'll show you that on the elevations later. So we have reduced our FARs hugely, almost 40% downward. And that was done by carving out more square footage, mostly in the more common rooms and even a little bit in the bedrooms to tighten it up. I'll show you the changes on the elevations of height changes. The driveway, the existing driveway entry and driveway apron is concrete. We want to keep that. They'd like to add a gate for security at that driveway and then remove all the other concrete that forms the neck of a driveway going to the old garage motor court and completely remove all that concrete to the northeast section there. If you want to flip to the page before this, it's the existing site plan. So all that big fat motor court area will be taken out. And we'll just keep the driveway apron as concrete. And then what is proposed is to change to a permeable paver system. If you go to the next page, the new one, I have the easy pave permeable grid structure, and then gravel fill will be inside of that, so it can withstand the fire equipment. And we do propose the driveway to come looping around to what will now be the front entry, to come looping around and come out another gate. And Chad we have met with the Montecito Fire District Fire Marshal, and this is what they prefer also, to be able to make that looping turnaround. And so the easy pave system will be used on the inner part of the driveway past the gates inside the parcel. And the rest of the pathways will be just loose gravel without that paver system. Okay, the new addition, we're trying to work off the existing foundation and framing on the existing house, but then the new addition really happens to the south part of the house. And those are the more common areas of living room, kitchen, family room, and dining room. And those have the biggest openings facing the south. New landscape will be added all around the house. It's very lush out there with oak trees and lots of overgrowth that Chad's been cleaning out. And we have added a landscape plan at the end and tried to create more lounge areas around fountains and a fire pit. And a new pool is proposed with a pool deck. Yeah, that's perfect. So to the south, from the addition, there will be a balcony and then steps down to the pool deck. And not an infinity edge, just a pool with a built-in integral spa and landscape all around that. He salvaged all the sandstone on land, and he's going to put that on the walls and other battered planters. To add in some color with the trees, we're suggesting jacarandas and olive tree will become the focal point through the house to the north. It's a red tone one there, so everything's on axis with the views. And then add some more citrus trees and other low water usage plants, and get some other colors with lavender and low upkeep, more natural. And then really prefer to have the climbing vines of climbing roses or color all along the elevation facing the street to the right, and also a pergola is proposed for on top of the balcony and have climbing vines on that as well. Let's see, so if we go now to the elevations, A311, please. I've drawn them as existing above and then proposed below. So currently it's a T111 stained pine siding with an asphalt shingle mansard roof. And they would like to remove all of that and go to stucco elevation with continuing up with the exterior walls to form a parapet with a cornice detail to keep it simple, and go to smooth trowel stucco in a light tone. We have added more photo sheets and a material board at the beginning, which we can go to next. But for now, we could look at this. I did lower all the heights because that was a major concern. So I dropped for say on the right on the proposed there, I dropped that plate height 2 feet. And above, beyond that parapet, we want to have the solar panels there because that's the best location for them versus being on the land. So that can't be seen from below. And then at the entry, dropped that 18 inches lower. No, sorry, 3 feet lower there. Drop that from our last meeting. And then the more common areas is to the left. That's the living room with the balcony over the garage doors. Those are taller ceilings for more dramatic entry in there and just a nicer feeling of space versus the kids' bedrooms being lower. So that was dropped 6 inches lower, but there's really no parapet area there because of that high ceiling, so I dropped the parapet lower, and I'll just put a fence line up on the roof to block people from walking over there. So that brought all that down. All right, and then the climbing vines are shown. They want landscape, new trees and hedges and other climbing vines around this elevation, even down below around the garage doors and training on up. Okay, next sheet, please. This is the south elevation from the pool deck, looking back at the living room, the kitchen, and the family room areas. They would like to have some fixed metal awnings on these big openings for more accent detail. And then the pergolas in the middle at the kitchen area. And that'll have the climbing vines coming up from below on that too. They would like cable railing versus anything else. And next page, please. I did get rid of the spiral stair that was shown outside before. Now it'll be an interior access to the flat roof. Okay, this is the west side elevation. And that's the master bedroom in the middle, facing a garden. Next page, please. And this is the north side. Kids' bedrooms on the left. The north exit door out to the garden areas. And the master, or the primary bathroom on the right side there, opening up to their private garden. Okay, let's see here. Okay. And Chad is the builder on this project as well as the owner, and he needs to work off of what the existing foundation and framing is there to create this and make this happen for his family and bring it up to code and green building standards. Chad, please speak if you'd like.
Yeah. Just kind of summarizing and referencing our last meeting, there was a lot of great feedback about the bulk, the scale, the size. And I shared about what our end goal is for our family of 4 and 4 young kids and trying to make enough living space for ourselves, but also utilize the pre-existing building, right? So we worked hard on this to figure out how we can make it all work and also not start from scratch, not demo this, but to take advantage of what's already there, what's already working, utilize the materials that are on the land. And this is a unique house because it is surrounded by oak, so there's a ton of privacy all around. So we do have photos showing elevations that I took from the roof, so you can see all the neighbors from the roof. And so that reveals that, you know, that there's just no visibility on the house. And also photos from within the house, so you can see what the view looks like from there. And then there are also photos from the perimeter as well. So, you know, this is a long rectangular house, right? 1970s build, south facing. So it gets a ton of good sunlight. And as Diana said, we put a lot of the living space on that south side and the rooms on the north side of the house. So yeah, that's I'm really.
We have gone ahead with the materials board that we were just there. So if you want to zoom in a little bit, these are the inspiration materials and photos. And then if you want to look at the landscape sheet, I can quickly summarize that. That's L1 on the last page. So that shows a bit of the palette on the right of the types, and just keep it very basic and try to create little outdoor room spaces to enhance what's out there now, which is just pretty dry and empty. And that's our presentation.
Very good, thank you. Bill, questions, please.
So you added underground parking and you pull off down at the, go back to that site plan there, Dave, sorry.
A111, A1.1.
No, this one's good too.
Okay,
It's on the south side of that house corner there, is that right? Because that's
correct.
your bed is.
Right side south.
And so it's pretty tight to the street there, huh? And do you have enough distance for the driveway
Yes.
from the street to the gate and then the gate to the,
I have it dimensioned on the site plan.
and does it work there? I mean.
Chad, do you want to speak?
does it
Yeah,
have-
so that is really a driveway on the full right side. That's part of the property. So that's kind of, so the road that you see isn't part of Tejas. So that's private on the property.
It's an easement then.
The neighbor above has access via that easement.
So you'll be, but you have a gate at.
It's a rolling gate at that
the
point.
Road there, okay.
And that will be the exit gate mostly.
And then, and what are you going to do up where the paving, you took paving away, you've got a little outdoor eating area or something up
Lounge,
up there.
fire pit.
And then you're gonna leave the rest of the paving at the top there, is that kind of?
Can we zoom a little bit onto that area at the north? So he's going to jack out the concrete in that whole upper area. Just leave the concrete at the gate part there, keep that solid. And then beyond the new swinging gate, make that all the driveway part to be the permeable paver system that is filled with loose gravel.
Yeah, so we'll just keep that apron, the initial apron as concrete, but no curb cuts since it is
And,
existing and it is part of the property.
and then that's some guest parking dashed out there. And then there's a site wall, probably about 6 feet high, plaster or maybe a stone veneer from the stone you salvaged. And then see the little gate on that wall? You come into that, and I'm showing some flagstone as a surface there, but that could be just loose gravel as well. All permeable, just loose. We don't need the paver system there, but just loose gravel for these kind of garden areas and their pathways. Because that's worked well on another project we've done.
Then, Dave, can you zoom out a little bit or roll down the sheet there a little bit? So that's a deck. I was looking at this little square down at the bottom there, what it says.
It's
deck
a
and
workshop.
Workshop, so that's existing then?
Yes, no work on that.
Okay, and that.
It has a wood deck, it has a wood deck
that
out in front of it there, and Chad uses it as his office right now.
And then go to the elevation quick too, if you would. So you said you lowered the plate height. So what are your ceiling heights and your plate heights in some of those rooms there? Maybe zoom in, Dave. I can't quite see those.
Yes, ceiling heights. So
11.6.
that's at the common areas. And then to the left are the bedroom and bathrooms. That's 10-foot high plate height.
10 and 11.6.
11.6, at the kitchen, living room, and family room, the bigger common areas.
And the entry is something taller than that.
Is a little bit taller, yes.
How much did we reduce that by? Significantly.
The entry, I brought down 3 feet. And at the common areas, I did bring it down 6 inches, but I also I brought the whole parapet down.
And the last.
18 inches.
Okay. And then last question, what was your floor area ratio before, the first time we came to you?
153.
Okay.
All right, so we took out 36%.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. That's.
Yes. Thank you for that guidance.
Rob, questions, please.
Could you kindly show me the previous site plan? I'm just trying to see where we were before. Is that
A 1.0?
readily available? Is that on this set, the last site plan?
The last one we presented,
Yes, is that,
not in this set. This is new
do you have it?
design.
Just trying to,
I had we had shown a 3-car garage, a detached one to the north. Nobody liked it,
okay, no, I just need, I won't remember.
right?
Explain all day, I won't.
So it's not even part of our thoughts anymore.
Okay.
So they're going from a 4-car garage to a 2-car attached.
Do you, and as far as the pool, and those places, you have a bunch of small children, and is there, safety fencing and so forth that are all kind of integrated into?
Yes, yeah,
Design.
we'll make sure to have a 5-foot perimeter fence and then also automated cover as well.
This is the,
Oh, that's the previous. There you go. Of course you have it. There you go.
previous
Yeah,
presentation.
yeah, I just was trying to refresh my memory, on it. Can you tell me why you have kind of these isolated kind of little projections, the spa, and then there's a little seating.
Wait, please
area.
go back to our current project and not this anymore. Thank you. So
I guess what I'm looking for is, did you look at having some curved walkways and some organic kind of forms to kind of connect and kind of weave some of those pieces together? And then is there a reason why the circulation stops and doesn't continue all the way around the house? So it's kind of a loaded, kind of one big question.
Yeah, I think you're right. It would be nicer to have more turns to the pathways and have them go all the way around and I can use some of the stone on the borders of those. So we should
Okay.
update that.
Okay.
but as shown, these pathways are close to the landings directly out of the building. And then it branches off to more open lounge areas. That's a hot tub and that's more private for for the primary bathroom and bedroom that comes out of that side. And the idea was just to keep the pathway closer in, still have a planter up against the house, but then have a straight walkway. But then they have more green space and garden to look out on beyond that.
Is there,
We could easily weave a pathway through that too.
is there and then the elevation of the pool, was there a kind of, did you look at trying to see if you could, in designing the rear kind of terrace areas, kind of create kind of a pool that maybe, or create some mid-level terrace areas so that the pool didn't far away? Is that
Well,
for you or at all, or is you okay with that?
that pool deck is a platform and then it steps down about 3 feet to the yard to the south. So it is up on a little rise there, which could have a nice stone
But
front
it's about
to
8 or
it.
10 feet down.
It's stepping down
Isn't the pool about 10 feet below the finished floor of the house? Am I seeing that?
of the first floor, but then there's the garage level there where he has some basement space that is accounted for as well.
On a slope.
So,
All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
and that comes right out there where there's a barbecue and a place to eat and lounge.
Okay.
Chip.
Yes,
Questions?
yes, I missed the last, the first hearing. So what is the current FAR right now?
117%.
And what's the FAR of the existing house?
Oh, do you have that?
I actually have that. So if you go to I did an FAR study on this. Yeah, next page. So it's, okay, so
99?
existing is 99.
And where's your chart?
It's down. So the orange is existing, the purple horizontal is 75%. The red is 110, and the vertical red is their proposal.
So that's 117, the red.
Yes, on the left-hand side.
Okay, thank you.
that it? Okay. You have a basement shown. What's going on down there, please?
Yeah, so the basement is kind of an existing enclosed area, and really the
What
big
floor plan?
opportunity for me is to be able to have all the kids' stuff down there. So ping
Eight-
pong tables, living space, all of that.
2.10, please.
Um, ping pong tables and, all the gaming
Existing pool
stuff
table.
and
We
pool
got-
table. Yeah.
Shape, please.
Next one.
Okay, so if you, in the upper portion, part two, yeah, right in there. No, that's me. Go to theirs, please. Diana, you're calling that space wholly underground basement.
Mm-hmm,
It's not wholly underground. You want to see the definition of wholly underground?
for sure.
I have
If
that
I have it all shown on my floor plan.
I sent that over. That was the last thing I sent over, the wholly underground. I promise this is the last transmission of today. Okay, so do you have, okay, so wholly underground. Yeah, okay, right there.
I'm only going
Number
off of
five,
that.
Number five. On the second line, wholly underground, i.e. entirely below finished grade, which it's not. You guys have the south side completely exposed and you have the west side on an angle. So that you're taking like 1,000 square feet or 800 square feet or something and eliminating it from the FAR where it should be combined in there, which means that your FAR, if you're going to finish that space, jumps really high. So the question is, were you aware of that?
Yes, and if we could go to A 2.10,
Okay, let's do that, please.
all of that isn't exposed and won't be finished out.
Well,
So let's look at the plan.
it's the
Design, wait, back, please.
lower
There.
left-hand corner, right?
Right, so the garage portion, two-car garage with some shop space behind it. And then there's an existing basement there now that we're utilizing.
Okay.
And that is all underground without exposure with windows or doors.
Well, it's not about windows and doors, it's about the ground level. Okay, so this wall is sloping, right, to the earth and the ceiling. This is completely.
But embedded about 6 feet down in that earth.
Not here.
But there's no outdoor exposure there.
Oh, that's not what the law, that's not what the definition is. The definition is this dirt is completely up. It's not to completely enclose. Down below, you can't see it.
I believe, John, that, it doesn't say it in that definition, but from what I remember is that you had to be at least 4 feet of coverage up the wall.
Yeah.
Yes,
So anyway,
that's what we've done, and it's set back the living part of it where he could have a media room or theater in the back.
what you're trying to get at,
Exactly, working with the square footage to that definition of number 5. And all I showed, that's like a pool enclosure, little niche there. So all of that is beyond, and it won't be opened up.
what's that? Do you have the sections shown also, Diane?
I don't have sections yet.
There's a section mark on the left-hand side there, David.
I've done the grid. I've done a grid structurally.
Okay,
So I'm working with those definitions and square footage to achieve the proper FAR. I believe we've done it properly.
okay.
Could we then pile up more dirt up against it? Would that solve the problem and do a raised planter there? Instead of what I've done to just like not include it?
Okay, and then that will be a question that we can talk about. And then, Did we look at my study yet? We did, yes, okay, very good. That's all. Public comment. Item number 6756 Hot Springs Road. Is there anybody that would like to address the board, please?
For those of us attending online, if you'd like to speak on this item, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you. No hands up.
Okay, comments. We are on for further concept today. Bill,
Yeah, so I appreciate the effort. Certainly, John questioning the definitions too. The FAR, we need to suss that out. I'm fine with the 117. It's a little high for the neighborhood, but I could probably support that. If it ends up that these are usable spaces and they're not buried by 4 feet, then I would have to question that. I wouldn't want to see go over 117. I'm fine with the architecture of the building. I think that looks fine. Can you go to the site plan there, Dave, real quick? The one thing I'm
A1.1.
still a little concerned about is how you get in and out, and you said it's a private road. So maybe that would make
You
it,
should zoom in.
just seems like it's super tight right in there, pulling out of the garage. You got the gate
Got a
there.
dimension there to the gate. I believe it was, I can't remember. If we could zoom into the rolling gate near, there's a long arrow and there's a dimension string.
And I
I believe it's over 30 feet.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of so many driveways that you have that, but with the garage where it is, which I appreciate it not being detached as you had it before. So I'm trying to get my head around that and whether or not that's better or worse. If there was a way to eliminate the second driveway, which is above, and just allow for additional parking up there, maybe that would be a little better. This seems like a lot of paving in the front in a very tiny little tight space. I'm gonna let some of the other members comment on it. I think where Rob is hedging too is maybe softening some of the hardscapes that you have. It's kind of a hard site plan to read. If the trees were colored, in a separate drawing and maybe the hardscapes were delineated a little better, we could tell what's hardscape, what's paved. I mean, we can kind of tell, but it's, if you can maybe enrich that stuff a little bit, it might be a little easier
Will do.
to see. But, soften the areas around the pool. Maybe you don't need as much patio deck around there. Maybe the paths are a little looser, not so hard lined, that lead to each of those little nodes that you have. And then just looking at kind of a way to reduce some of that paving in the front of the house. And that's what I've got so far. Thanks.
Thank you.
Rob, comments, please.
I think that the project has been advanced quite a ways from where it was. What's always tough is trying to detach myself from maybe the way I would do something and versus maybe the way you might do something. But I feel like this project would benefit greatly from having kind of a landscape architect that could bring a level of sophistication to where you're going with it and where you're trying to go with it. There's some outdoor spaces that could be kind of weaved together a lot better and integrated into the site. And that's where I was kind of alluding to some curves and things like that. Bill was on to some, kind of aspects of the site plan that could be fixed. The rear pool area, I think that there's the opportunity to maybe have a mid-level deck. And so that pool area is kind of connected to the living spaces of the house, weather and feeling so far away. So there's, and you gotta, so you're trying to do a lot and you've got a family that you want to provide places to enjoy. So I feel like my sense is I think a landscape architect would help you take it to the next level and just conceptually take what you've done and refine it and kind of make it a little more, introduce some organic forms and kind of weave it all together. And I think, you're going to still spend a fair amount of money trying to make these improvements. So you might as well make it the best it can be. And so that's my take on it. But I really appreciate that you've kind of moved the ball forward quite a bit from where you were the last time. So thank you.
Yep. Comments?
And you, David, can you go back to the south elevation, please?
A312.
Yeah, so, I have a couple comments. Number one, I think overall, I like the direction of the design, the architecture. I think that could be a very nice project. Some of the problems I'm having is that number one, I think that the drawings is very difficult to read. Number two is that I think that when I look at the elevations, it seems like the massing is not there yet. I think it can be a little more refined because I can see some ceiling height, I can see some parapets that's much taller than the ceiling. And I believe that if you come back with some 3D studying of the massing, I think you can really refine it and make it look uh, uh, more refined, better than what you have now. Right now, it just seems a little bit not very well thought out, even though I think the concept is in the right direction. And I think the building section would be a great help for us to understand the project a little better. One of the big concern I have to do, obviously, I have to do the FAR, and I believe that this is almost the same as the project we've seen earlier today. It's FAR had been put in place, as you know, to control the mass bulk and scale. And it seemed like this project tried to bypass that with some, um, technical um, definition of how to not count certain areas. And the issue is that when you look at the elevation, like the south elevation, which is, you can see that it's clearly a two-story house with no windows, with one opening coming in. So because of that, if you do a section, you can have a better idea on what in the basement had to be counted and what is not, what is excluded. And I think that would be a big help in really determine what is the actual FAR of the project. So that's probably my biggest concern. Thank you.
Dad, how old are your kids?
12, 10, 8, and 5.
Okay, well, when I had very small, I have a 36 and a 33, okay? So when they were very young, I wanted them next to me. As they got older, right? So I think if we can go to the north elevation really quickly. North.
3.14.
See how the dirt is right up against the doors in the garage? Any basement below that is wholly underground. If we go to the south elevation, there's this two-story mass there, and that's what wholly underground gets away from. So I don't know how much you guys know about this, but in the 1970s, the state of California said, we're going to require every jurisdiction, city of Santa Barbara, county of Santa Barbara, city of Carp, to come up, first of all, with citizen input as to what they want. And then the planners are going to kind of pull that together and come up with language and put that in a thing called the general plan. Then all ordinances, guidelines, et cetera, are supposed to flow out of that. The primary one for Montecito is residential, low intensity, semi-rural. Those are the three words. And they want to keep the massing down, the size of buildings down, lots of landscaping. So all of my comments all the things that I'm coming from is trying to get that, things that are not overpowering the site at all. And in relationship to the neighborhoods, and the FAR is one of, not the only one, but one of the key things. So when I see the south elevation, the dirt obviously is not right up at this, at the second floor as it is on the first floor, or as it is on the other side, the north elevation. So that's, has to be counted if you're going to use it. So the comment, the question I had about your kids, maybe there's a way to reconfigure this house so that you put the kids downstairs, which you want to do next to the pool, and you get them out of the upstairs. But to me, the way it's reading now, if you force me to vote on this, I'd say your underground FAR, wholly underground, is incorrect. Therefore, the FAR is, I'm not sure what it'd be, 130, 135, and I won't vote for that. So that's my vote. Now, I tend to be the most strict about that on the board, but my vote says I can't do it unless there's a way either to eliminate 100% of that, which I know the question is, what's the difference? I understand that. But that's, you know, doesn't permit that to be used in some way that far exceeds the intensity that that the community is hoping for. 2 curb cuts, I can't do that. I mean, there's a specific guideline that says minimize curb cuts.
No
So
curb cuts.
what?
There's no curb cuts. I mean, it's an apron.
2 driveways.
Okay.
Curb cut is the technical term for it. So, so anyway, that's where I'm coming from. Gentlemen, we're on for concept today. What do you want to do with this? I think it's got a long way to go, but,
Come back to the full board.
oh yeah, no matter, but
Continue further conceptual.
further conceptual. Good luck with that.
Can you ask a question? Beth?
Sure, by all means, please.
Yeah, so I understand that the goal is and to not have great intensity, right? And also to uphold the Montecito community plan and the building plan. You know, we took a really thoughtful approach on this one by reducing the non-permeable space by bringing the garage underneath. And it helped me too, because it brings down the cost of building because it's already there. I did look really hard about the basement, enclosed, partially enclosed, looked really closely at the language of that. And I had read that partially enclosed or fully enclosed meant that the grade on the exterior to the bottom of the floor couldn't be greater than 4 feet, right? So I want to make sure, okay, I got that 3 sides. Obviously the garage is there on one side, so that kind of tweaks a little. But on the south front, my interpretation of that was as long as it is not an exterior wall, right? So the basement is in an envelope under the house. So the basement exterior wall does not touch any exterior house on that south elevation. And I did that because I wasn't trying to present something like deceiving what the intended purpose of that is. Like the intended purpose for me is that's a bear cave, right? That's for kids. That's a place for the kids to be, to enjoy. And I was just thinking, look, this is a really great path forward because I'm not tearing down the house. I'm not adding a ton of square footage by adding more square footage on the property than is already there. I really thought this would kind of resonate and it's existing. So I just spent, a lot of time and
It
resources.
wasn't
on that.
trickery. It's working with what's existing.
How can I, I guess, how do I make sure, or what can I do to come to the table again next time and
Do it properly.
I mean, try to achieve what I'm going to be investing in and spending my resources on for my family and also get what I
We did
need and
that
want.
mid-level that you were talking about and add something there. Would that help enclose that? Because it's not an existing, but he's rebuilding back. So could we bring that up and enclose it that way by doing like what you said, another mid-level kind of to the pool? Perhaps we can tier it that way. Would that enclose it more? I want solutions to go forward. It's,
I know that our job is to design it for you.
okay.
I think that, does anybody want to address this?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, this is not the first time we've seen things like this. And as, it's really not our job to, design for you because I believe that there's many ways you can address the situation. And, I mean, that's what you are professional
Yes, okay.
and
Thank you. There's your answer.
job. And so I think that you just have to, study that. And if you need to, have a feedback from the county, I'm sure that, they can do that before the meeting with the board.
I think what I would do too is, cut some sections.
Yeah.
That is the
What I
feedback we
mentioned
got from
earlier,
the planner.
some sections.
Cut some
We're working with our
sections.
planner.
Talk to the planner.
Yeah, talk with your
He was
planner.
fine with, no, we have.
Okay,
He was good with this.
well, maybe he didn't understand, I don't know, but talk with
I
the.
would hope our planner is,
Okay, well, maybe
but
show.
we'll verify that and
yeah,
we'll do
show
some sections.
That would be helpful. I
Okay.
think.
I think the planner will be a big
both
help
directions.
because that's someone that can really guide you in the right direction.
And,
And he
and as the, there's three architects here and I'm the landscape architect. And so why I was pushing for a landscape architect is sometimes there's some very good ones that have kind of a sophistication to them that they can complement what you're trying to achieve and kind of add to what you're trying to achieve and then give kind of a organic flair to it where it works with grading and just kind of makes the house fit the site better. And some of those outdoor spaces kind of weaves them together with the site and the house and how it all flows. So that's kind of, I was pushing that angle. I think if you add somebody to the team, it might kind of help you move it in that direction was, I guess, was where I was coming from. And I hear maybe a little bit of that in a different way.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 3. Nobody was here earlier. Is there somebody here now for item number 3, 319 Hot Springs Road, please? Okay, I'm going to push this all the way to the end of the agenda. Item number 7, 1221 East Valley Road. Jeff, are you with us? Online, maybe, Jeff? I believe those doors should stay, at least one should stay open. Oh, okay. Never mind. Is Jeff with us today or just? Ooh. Okay. Okay, so comments before, very nice architecture design. MBAR appreciates and supports redesigned parking configuration, restudy backup areas and options to increase landscape areas, provide comprehensive landscape plan, provide perimeter landscaping if where perimeter landscaping is not provided, describe why.
Hello, hi, James Carson filling in for Jeff Shelton. Should I address the minutes or any?
You do what you want. It's your hearing.
Okay, great. So let's just
Oh, wait,
run.
We have a memo, excuse me.
Okay.
Sorry, wrong project. We don't have a memo.
Okay, thank you.
Has a memo.
Okay, so let's move to the next sheet here, please. The overview. So this is our site plan. I believe since the last time we were here, the access has been approved by the fire department, Montecito Fire, with a few caveats in red there, which will all be taken care of as we move forward in the project. Let's move forward to the 1/8 inch site.
Hold it.
Oh,
We
go
don't
ahead.
have a quorum. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't have a quorum.
That's okay. I just got a lot of stuff going.
Yeah. Some items were actually continued because we don't have a quorum, so don't feel badly that we're asking you to wait. We can do this in 2 weeks if you want. Jeff, I don't know, he's probably at the bathroom, but Sorry about that.
So if we could move forward to the next site plan, those are some easement plans that we've previously looked at. Forward again, one more. I'll move through the photos, please. One more. Thank you. So here is a little bit closer view. So you arrive at the site at the top of the screen there where the fire truck is being portrayed. And we're proposing a new driveway that comes through an access easement down onto our property there at the bottom, the triangular shape. And come in, park underneath the house as discussed at the last meeting. With one guest parking space or one uncovered guest parking space on the right and a backup area in the middle there. At the last meeting, it was we discussed to bring the guest parking space and the backup area off of the property line a little bit. So we did our best to do that while still meeting the transportation requirements or you know the parking requirements to get the cars in and out. Let's move to the sheet that's just before this because it'll help explain a little bit better. So we are now showing an existing hedge that's along the, I guess I would call it the south property line. It's in white on the neighbor's property. So with that in place, we're not showing any planting between the guest parking and the backup area. Let's see, what were the other comments here? So for our landscape plan, Jeff, as we started looking at this a bit closer, Jeff was thinking that the area of the site that is actually buildable and usable for our client is relatively small. And it's shown there in the darker brown area. In addition to that, landscape or fire department requested that we not plant any more trees on our property. And they requested a 4-foot access area around the whole building, which reduces that planting area a bit more as well. So with that in consideration, as well as the site being down in this little gully with its own, not a creek, I don't think it's a official creek, but with the depression for the water channel, Jeff thought it was best to go with just more of a natural landscape down here. The site's so small, and with the AFE requirements, the building kind of feels like it's being elevated out of the creek. So that's what we're showing here on this landscape plan. Okay, moving forward to the details. Move through those floor plans. There's some elevations in color. We can stop here for a moment. These are very similar to what you have seen before. We worked on making as much space for the cars to be parked underneath, which so the cantilever is, I believe it's a bit smaller than you saw last time, but we maximized it because that was the initial impulse for the design of the house. They're about 3 feet all around, and the pointy end of the triangle is a bit longer as it sticks out more. Let's move forward to the details that our final details here. Next, we've seen those. So, oh, there we go. Last time, I believe we had a comment about studying the concrete base of the building. At one point, it was suggested to maybe put some fake rock material. We looked at that idea, and they're 8-inch concrete walls, and so facing them, we didn't really have the space to face them on the interior because we need room for parking. And that thickness of the wall didn't feel quite as substantial as we thought it might need to be for a rock base holding up this large structure. So Jeff came up with this detail where it's board form, but we're gonna leave gaps between some of the boards, so the concrete spills out a bit there. Creating some shadow play and maybe, some moss or some oak pollen might collect on there a bit to add a little more natural feel to it. Below that is the entry stair, which we've been showing on the plans all along. But this is just a detail to show a little more clearly what that looks like. Next page, please. Next page, sorry. Here is our entry lamp on the right. It's going to be triangular lamp that hangs from the top of the building. We can examine that again on the elevations. David Shelton will probably make this one. And on the left, we're showing our step lighting for the stairs, just a standard light there. Is there another sheet after this? Materials? Okay. I guess that concludes our presentation. Look forward to the questions.
Okay, so we're on for prelim and final. Questions, Rob, please.
I don't have any questions. Really.
This is Tatiana. Can you guys hear me?
What?
It's Tatiana.
There should be the colors and materials in there. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. That way, if you wanted to use it for the presentation, it should be in there.
Oh, it might be at the sheet after the color elevations.
Was a 3.1.
We usually have them at the end, but yeah, there we go. So I'll let you guys continue.
Rob, questions, please. Tip, questions, please.
No questions.
Bill, questions, please.
So is the roofing and the siding both corrugated weathered steel?
Almost. Originally, we had proposed corrugated for both. The slope of the roof isn't quite steep enough for a nice corrugated, so it's a standing seam on the roof.
I meant the color, did I say?
Oh, color? Yeah, it's the same color.
Same color.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't have any questions. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 7, 1221 East Valley Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, as I said, we're on for both preliminary and final. Let's see what people's comments are. Rob?
I really like the elevations. I know I commented, to some degree still feel it could use a little bit more base to it, but that's kind of the designer's preference. As far as the board form, I think the board form should just let it be what it is. It's board form. And you're going to get shadow lines, you're going to get moss and things kind of collecting there. To me, you do that stuff with the concrete kind of bubbles out, just looks like bad craftsmanship to me. And so I think you're being more successful if you just let it be, read as what it's supposed to be, board form. But and as far as landscaping and you're basically in the riparian zone, and I think that in itself provides kind of an inherent natural landscaping. I don't think you're gonna, if you can try to put some understory here and there, of course it would be nice, but some natives and things that support, that kind of an environment. But I think the natural kind of riparian canopy is gonna just, and the building inside it will read real well and be successful. So I support the project.
Chip, comments, please.
I think it's I think it's a very nice project, and I just can't get over the color choice of the siding and the roof. And I'm not sure I like that. It's almost like it's the same, but it's not the same. Just what the concept behind that?
Oh, are you referring to the materials board, the colors on that one?
Yeah, number the standing seam and then the.
Right, believe that's just a problem with the photos that they're not matching. In the field, they should, I mean, it would be the same material, rusting the same, so they should be about the same color.
But why you want to match the roof to the building?
Oh, it's less about matching and more about the material blends into the landscape really well. I mean, we've done this material in the foothills many times. And I mean, if you change the roof or change the siding, then suddenly you have a very visible object down in the creek. So we prefer this look.
You prefer the roof to be that color
Correct.
in the building?
Correct. The same. I mean, it's going to be rusted core 10 steel.
Okay, that's
Comments? Are you good with this project or not? That was a question. Comments, please.
well, and the windows is a little more green tinted, like a patina copper.
I believe they were going to be aluminum clad on the outside.
Can you go back to the color board again, please? Yeah, it's yeah, it's well, you know what? I'm not. Yeah, everything's fine. I'm just not 100% sold with the way the roof and the building color and the window. It just, I don't know. It just, it seemed like it's
It's
could be different or could be anyway. Just so yeah. It's just one of my comments about the color.
Is that it?
Yep.
Bill, comments?
Yeah, I would be happy to give it preliminary and final as submitted.
So you're okay with their details?
I am.
Okay, so is that a motion then?
I'll make a motion to grant it preliminary and final approval
As
as
submitted.
submitted.
Is there a second, please? Second, somebody or no?
Okay, I second it. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Hope Jeff's okay.
Yep. Thanks for bearing with us. A little frazzled. Thank you.
Okay, item number 8, 484 Barker Pass Road. On this one, we have a memo. Oh. This is night. Isn't that what they call that? Night color?
Background.
Yeah, white, yeah. MBAR members to review updated historical resources letter to confirm that the recommendations made by the historian in regard to architectural style and materials and finishes are met. So this is the one that was half torn down. Yeah, and then you said you wanted it to be like James Osborne Craig, right?
That was not our intent. That's who the original designer was, his wife. But you'll see in this historian report that they weren't able to find adequate plans or details. And that the historian spoke to, doing our best instead of it being a facade.
Okay, let me read it then. As noted in phase 1-2 Historic Resources Technical Report, reconstruction of the house to its original appearance does not appear to be feasible given the lack of an original plan set or extensive photography of the house prior to the unpermitted demolition work, right? So it is the opinion of Post Hazeltine that the measures outlined in phase 1 resources and further measures outlined in this letter report incorporate identifiable and feasible measures to offset the impacts of the unpermitted changes on a potential historic resource. To ensure that the measures are implemented, Post Hazeltine recommends the County of Santa Barbara Planning and Development Department require that the County Santa Barbara approved historian review the project's final plan set and the completed project and submit memos to the County of Santa Barbara Planning and Development Department confirming the project's compliance with these measures. So, okay. He just, that report said, do the work and then have your own guys look at it, okay? Okay. What do you want to do here? Your turn? Okay, and we are on for preliminary today.
So what I'd like to point out, we'll go to our, if you'd like to look at the minutes, so we could start with those. I know when we last saw the project, we had requested a landscape plan, which we've done with Common Ground, and Chris is on, so he'll speak to that when we get to that portion. We did look at the Spanish colonial style. When we reviewed the historical report, the notes that were mentioned were like the existing gable that was still on site, making sure we had met the stucco plaster finish, kind of going.
I think David wants me to read these. Landscaping plans. Go back. There you go. Landscaping plans need to be included to show existing and proposed landscaping for the site. Study the dual entrances to the dwelling to avoid confusion. Integrate more of the original architectural style into this proposal. Wolf absent. And you have only been here once, so Bill's never seen it.
Got it. Yeah, if you don't mind going to the plan set. And then going to our site plan, which is A10, it'll be a few more, A101. There we go. So you'll see here that we did revisit the entryway. Originally, we had two different approaches coming from the motor court, which was confusing. We've revised it to have an approach straight on from the motor court. You'll see that staircase along the western side. And that's become our focal point. When you approach from the motor court, you'll see the staircase that leads up to the hillside straight on to that covered entry. And then if you can continue on to the elevations on A2. There we go. Again, oh, sorry, the next page is existing. Here we are. So as you see in that western elevation, that staircase in the center leads up to our main entry. That gable is in, remnants of the existing gable, the only kind of remaining element that was on site. And so that was something noted in the historical report that we've tried to preserve. The roof is a Spanish tile. The historian recommended terracotta, which was what is existing. So we've agreed to go ahead and go with the terracotta roof finish. As you'll see here, one thing to note is on the eastern elevation, we have that sunken courtyard that's in the rear. And we have these two small windows on the left and right hand side. These were originally these are like picture windows. And the board had requested we revisit this. They're kind of in retaining wall systems since the hillside abuts right up on the back end. So with all of our windows, what we've done is we're going with a steel finish that's dark, and we've added mullions, try to make it more consistent with the style that we're pursuing. And if you'd like to go to the A900s, Mark here can walk you through our renderings and kind of explain the approach and the look of the structure.
Hi, Mark Winke with Windward. So the left-hand side is an idea that we're going to have some kind of a gator fence set up in the front. There's the view from the street. And the trees are actually very accurate. The two in the middle are actually very large oak trees, huge canopies, beautiful trees, and we're going to keep them. That's basically all you can see from the residence, but it really shows you we're keying on the front entry with a motor court in front, utilizing the space in front. The garage is tucked off to the left, fairly out of view. And we're going to replace the garage door with a nice wooden stained door and add some corbels to the roof structure. And so the view on the right is just a little closer. Actually, it's the same view, isn't it? So next one. If you came in and made a left and before you pull in the garage, that's the same view. Again, sort of showing the the amount of tree coverage of the house, but to the right is or it's basically the side front yard or the side play yard area for the family. And parking to the right. Next one. Yeah, basically now you're starting to see the approach. The diminutive approach we took with the front gable was to have a very simplistic gable with a little Romeo and Juliet balcony off the front. That's the main entry. Axially with the house itself from the living room, dining room, kitchen. And the entry is a little tucked in porch off the corner, reminiscent of the same style of the original building that was done back in the 20s. Next. There you go. There's the house from the right. The area to the right, which is on the right of the screen, is the play area. It's off the family room, living room, and kitchen and dining room area. Faces south, and that's the area that they want to spend most of their time playing with their kids. The rest of it on the left-hand side is to the very left is where the cars park. Come up a few steps, kind of have a landing area and sort of a simplistic handrail, wrought iron handrail system going up to the front porch. The very far left you can see is the porch beyond of the bedroom number 2, I believe. Okay, next slide.
I think that's it.
And then Chris is here. He can speak to the landscape plan, which is on page 8 of the PDF.
All right. Good afternoon, board members. Chris Gilliland with Common Ground. Pretty simple plan, and mostly focused on the front. But as most of the major points have been touched on already. So the driveway is actually going to slim down quite a bit. It's very wide right now, and we want to bring that down to 16 feet. And we added the sliding gate at the front, as Mark had mentioned, right here. And garage is existing off to the left, new trash area just to the left of that, right in this location. And the oaks in the front yard are beautiful. They really help to frame the entry to the house and screen the rest of the house and give privacy from the residents. So we basically just kind of reconfiguring slightly the parking area just to get enough for some guest parking, but to preserve that tree. Actually, currently, those who we won't mention that sort of tore this thing down. They also sort of brought this driveway all the way around this oak. So we want to reclaim that critical root zone and plant that out with oak compatible plants. And then we're sort of terracing up to the front door. You'll notice in the renderings, this wall looks pretty large, but I think we'll have an opportunity, it looks like, to sort of slope up to that wall and then plant in front of it to bring the mass of that down somewhat, and a small accent tree here on the end in order to get stay in the front. So from the garage leading up to a small seating area, is kind of an existing feature. It's a nice underneath the canopy of the oaks, and then we just want a simple path to get back to the little stoop off the master. And on the opposite side, the south side, as Mark pointed out, we're sort of leading up to, they wanted to maximize their lawn up here on the side, because that's really the only activity space on the whole site. So we're pushing that, although we do have a planter in front of that wall on the inside. But otherwise, it's just sort of open play area. And I've sort of added a, gravel strip around the entire house for fire suppression or whatever, mitigation. And let's see, am I saying anything? So at the front of the property, there is an existing, basically kind of a creek, I guess, and existing head walls here, and the flow is to the bottom of the page down towards the ocean. Some existing eucalyptus. There's a big, nice Phoenix reclinata sort of in the middle of that creek. right there. And then we've got some Phoenix canariensis in these two locations. I think one of those is going to have to be removed so we get better sight lines looking up Barker Pass. But some more eucalyptus, very mature, up in this zone. Otherwise, this is oak. This is oak. I shouldn't use an X. It should be. But yeah, 3 beautiful oaks here. This nice big beautiful oak, and then a couple back in this location. So very simple. I didn't have a whole lot of time to develop this too much, but I think we got the basic layout. Also added a couple of trees, one around here in front of this wall and another there, again, just to provide some depth and additional screening, and also to sort of screen the garage as well, and more screening trees over here, because coming down Barker Pass, you sort of look right into this and see that garage. So we definitely want to create some screening there. And also, I believe there's a development that's going to be happening on this property soon. So sort of a native mixed hedge along that boundary line. Same goes sort of in front of this wall. We don't want to just see a big blank wall. So we've got a plant list over here on the left side with some of those projected plant materials. Otherwise, I think that's about it. So happy to answer questions.
Is that it for your presentation? Okay, questions, Chip, please. Do we have a roof plan?
Yeah, we do. That'll be on A 103, I think. I'm sorry, 4. There we go.
And this roof plan reflects the submitted elevations.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, and the house is 1 level?
It is, yeah. And from the record, the only existing element was that gable on the right-hand side.
Say again?
The only existing element that was preserved from the historical report is that gable, and the whole building will be torn down because it's not structurally sound. But in respect of what they requested, we are maintaining that same entryway gable and then carrying it through with the addition.
Can I see the elevations again, please? Okay, because I see, yeah, let's stop right here. I see a couple of elements and I don't recognize it from the roof plan. For example, on the east, that offset gable,
The right-hand side?
east elevation, that offset gable, does it show on the roof plan? On the left, to the left.
Is east the second from the bottom?
East, yep, that's it.
Right, that's the back of the gable, and then the other part, the new addition, bedroom 4, we're calling it, is offset and slightly, oops, sorry.
And does it reflect on the roof plan?
Yeah.
Let's look at the roof plan.
It does. And what about, where is that at?
So that's
in the back, the little leg.
top third of the right-hand side. And as you probably can tell, probably from, if you played with this ever before in your life, there's a weird juxtaposition between the 2 elements, and either have to create them separately or you have to join the 2 roofs together, and having this overlap
Okay.
is the best solution.
Okay, that's great. And then my next question is, when I look at the elevations, it seemed like you have windows in different height. Some really tall, some really low.
Most of them are high, tall, like 8 foot, and then there's a few that
I'm
are
talking about
smaller
the head
windows.
height. Let's look at the front elevation, for example.
Yeah, the smaller windows are sometimes pulled down and for scale to make it more white space above the windows, like the ones on the middle left, which is the bedroom.
Yeah, so, but the floor line is the same elevation.
Right.
So some rooms has a higher window, some room has a lower windows, and
So for example, the middle drawing they're all high windows, they're all at 8 feet, because they're 8-foot high doors. But the window on the very left is in as we're calling that, a laundry
or,
room.
you look at the north elevation, you have a door and you have 2 windows really low, and then suddenly you have a opening to the left, which look like completely much bigger. So I'm just asking, that's why I'm asking the same elevation, so it's the same, so you answer my question, just a question. And then it seems like the main house and the garage, even though it's all Mediterranean, but it's the architectural style is not really the same. The main house, you don't have any overhang, kind of plaster up to the roof, and then the garage, it has extended cobbles and overhang. And can you explain the difference between the two?
Well, we know that that garage was built much later as maybe 40
But
years.
it's an existing garage?
Yeah, it's an existing garage. So it doesn't leak. And right now it's working quite well. And the owners would like to just keep it and add the corbels and beautify the garage door and keep the overhang on as it's existing instead of renovating it to make it match the house. So
So the question, you're not touching the garage, you leave it the way
correct.
it is. I see.
touching, we're replacing the garage door.
Okay.
Something that's
all
not
the
so
question.
tacky.
Bill, questions, please.
You show a creek kind of on the front there. Is there a bridge then across it? There's
The
existing bridge?
CMP.
It's what?
CMP.
Oh, okay.
It's not really a creek, it's an arroyo
All right.
until it rains.
Dry most of the time. And then just some questions on the entry there. Is that material on that post? Is that wood?
Yeah.
You consider it being wood? Is it supposed to be plaster? What's the material there, I guess?
We have been asked by the historian to make it in wood or wood face.
And would it be painted or stained?
Probably be stained,
Okay.
stained wood, probably darker like the,
And maybe consider a lintel and a trim on the other side, maybe, or dressing that up is something you haven't gotten to the detail of
there's
that.
beams inside that are exposed in that little area. So
Uh-huh.
we've been going back and forth with the historian and to get something that was acceptable to their report. So that's what we got.
Got it. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Rob, questions, please?
Just one thing with so the two access points that are no longer emphasized, what was that part of the historical fabric of the building that you were trying to maintain, or what is the notion of those? I mean, because our last meeting, you've done what we've asked is you de-emphasize those. I was just wondering what their significance is, because they're still part of the design. So I just wanted to understand, is that a historical component or?
As far as entry points?
Yeah, I mean, you now have a nice central stepway
Yeah.
focuses your attention, and then you have these other secondary access ways. And I just was trying to understand, is that something that is being maintained from the historical aspect, or just?
Oh, the main entry is at the front is now because the house now is at Barker's Pass. So that's the front entry. The one on the right is sort of diminutive. It's like, you don't even know it's there. It's only for the people to exit from, or maybe have some landscape maintenance happening. And the same with the left one. The left side is actually quite lovely. It's kind of a hilly area through the trees, and it's kind of nice. You probably want to walk through it, maybe get your coffee, go down and get your newspaper kind of thing from the main master suite. And there's an existing little area there that they mentioned earlier, Chris mentioned earlier, that you can sit right below the 3 columns on the left-hand side of the front elevation. It's a nice place to sit and, look at the house.
Is the separation between the gravel path and what's the driveway? Is that a chip seal then? Is that what we're doing, or what?
The driveway is chip seal, and stone wall. It's a kind of a dry stack. And then there's a gap, which I believe Chris shows it as some planting, miscellaneous planting. And there's another DG kind of pathway. But when you come up the main entry, there's a solid landing, so to speak.
Okay, and then what is the grade? You just mentioned that the walk on the left is sloped. How much of a slope is that if you're going to have gravel?
It's 5%, maybe 3%.
Okay.
Actually, we could probably see it on C101.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh yeah, there, we can see the contour work.
I just was more worried about if you're going to have gravel, whether it's going to be so steep that, okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, so my first question, have you considered either a retaining wall or cutting a slope on the east side of this house so that you don't have the dirt coming halfway, 2/3 of the way up the wall, but you actually have some air there? Have you considered that, please?
Yeah, the right-hand side, which is the east,
East side, yes.
exactly. That existing, those are existing conditions. There's already retaining walls there. And the the way they're existing is they were built illegally. And then
But you guys
they,
admitted in your presentation, this is a tear down, right?
the structure is, but not the retaining walls.
Okay, so I go back to my question. Have you considered adding a new retaining wall on the east side so that you don't have
Against the,
dirt against the building, which I can guarantee, no matter how good a job you do, it's gonna leak, it's gonna be a little moldy, it's gonna. Are you sure you don't want to somehow pull that dirt back, please? So that's the question.
it's a good question.
We have some oaks to contend with there in the middle section in the back.
Zoom into that part.
That's kind of right here is, I think, a cluster of decent looking oaks.
Okay, so
Though that actually is a outdoor to outdoor. That's a patio, obviously, right? So no worries about if that leaks, but the other two sections are.
And this are existing. Actually, all this is existing, right?
My question is both aesthetic and my experience of building like that. And I've been at this a long time, and I would never do that if I had the option not to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my question. Can we go to the east elevation, please? Okay, on the east elevation, on the far left of that elevation and the far right, you have horizontal windows. So the question is, can you tell me which buildings that were done at this period, the 1920s, use those kinds of windows? I've never seen them in historical buildings.
We
I've
cannot.
seen them in apartment houses
Yeah.
over showers, which is what I kind of suspect that is without going into the footprint. I've never seen it in a historically accurate. So,
Right, we were struggling with that too, and for the most part, the one on the left, we don't even really need it. There's already other windows in that room.
okay,
But you can look up the hill and see the trees. So the owner said, let's keep it. Maybe we can put a bed below it and that kind of thing. So we broke it up into 4 pieces to try to divide it. Yeah, it's the fact that it's kind of buried in the hill and there may or may not be some planting there that could be seen didn't dissuade us from trying to change the window, but that is the condition that we're left with.
okay. This was a building built sometime in the 20s, right?
Yeah,
Originally,
part of it was, but obviously
yeah,
not all of it.
100 years ago. So, would you say that this building would be indistinguishable from that in terms of what George Washington Smith and the Craigs were doing and others? Or is this got a much more modern vocabulary? And does that therefore meet the requirements in your mind, please?
Well, we believe that all the detailing, the roof eave, the recessed
I was
windows,
thinking more
that
about
kind
the
of stuff.
fenestration.
Yeah, I think we have probably bigger windows than they might have done in the 20s, 1920s. But we think the size, bulk, and scale and the shape of it, especially that one rendering that showed the kind of 3/4 view from the right, really shows it off as being quite attractive in that regard. Then we have the things we're dealing with the historical report. And so we've claimed to have, the kind of beautiful detailing that's required usually for very clipped eaves, clip it, rake eaves, that diminutive thing, recessed windows, tile roof, obviously, stucco, blah, blah, blah. And not trying to work with this story and to make it so it's not too flashy or too modern.
Okay. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 8, 484 Barker Pass Road, please?
If you'd like to speak on this item, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you. No hands raised.
Okay. We're on for prelim today. Comments, Tip.
Yeah, it seemed like a fairly simple project, but I'm not troubling by the elevations. It's the openings, mainly the proportion of all the openings. It doesn't seem to be visually flowing too well, in my opinion. And I think that it's not quite there yet. I mean, it could be, it could have a little more improvement in terms of proportion, scale, and that would make it a more, go more the period of the building it was built. Right now, it's just a mix between something that maybe back to the G.W. Smith and then the 2024, 2025. It kind of a little bit all over the map, in my opinion. So if you can look at the elevation and try to maybe study the proportion of all the openings and make it a little more cohesive to the style, I think that might be a more successful project.
So it sounds like you're not ready to vote for prelim. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah. Well, let's see what the other comments and.
Okay, Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, I think generally I like the site layout, the massing of the building is fine, but I think it's the little details. Like for instance, on your south elevation, or let's say your east elevation, you have sort of a 3-light divided casement, whereas on the south you don't. You have 2. Seems like you could pick up that same 3-light maybe. I don't know if the proportions will work. The part that's kind of the trickiest part is that entry element. And I was thinking, well, maybe if it was a wood post and a lintel and a wood post, maybe it somehow would create more of a sense of entry. Maybe if it came in from the other side and you did a big steel sash window in the end of that, I don't know. There's something about that entry element that sort of looks a little off to me. And I think you can come up with something there. And if you did do wood posts, do you do wood posts on the little porch cover that you have as well? I don't know. These are just ideas. The windows, in terms of the heights on the north, I think it's just little tweaks like that, little fenestration things and proportions and that kind of a thing that I think will get it there. But generally, the house looks fine and the siding is fine and everything else is good. So I think that's it. Yeah. I mean, I could see giving it preliminary, but
We'd like preliminary so we can meet certain deadlines for banking
Or what?
and closures and other
The project is not closed yet. Escrow?
those, but it's got some other banking issues that they've been trying to hurry up and get it into the building department and other landmarks like that.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Rob, comments?
Could I see the site plan, please? Or the landscape plan, actually. First of all, I agree with the architects on the board. That's little finesse details, or adding stone if budget historical report allows, adding Santa Barbara stone elements, whether it's bases or some wall or, the piers or something coming in, things like that would be, I think would add to it and would give it more of that 20s feel. But site plan wise, I think what you folks have done, Chris has done. And first of all, I'm glad he left thing 1 and thing 2 at home. That's a joke between him and I. I think I like where I like the way it functions. I like when we first came on this project, you had the 2 entries and it was just didn't work. And so it's just so simple having that 1 entry come up the middle. It works, it reads. I think the way you've kind of reduced the amount of driveway paving, it's all really so much nicer. And the same with probably some of the hardscape stuff about little details. Maybe like where you go from the gravel, the chip seal drive into the gravel walk, you could have, some like a chunk of Cherokee across that, just little details like that, where that bulb out is on the left hand, where it kind of just bulbs out. I mean, that could all be 5-sided flagstone. I think there's some little details like that that could upgrade this and make it really kind of come together really nice. But I really like where you guys have taken it as a team. So thank you.
Total development on the site, easy, basic form, roof forms, massing, not a problem. I think that if you're really trying to be in the vocabulary of the 20s, I don't think you're there. And if you don't want to be there, it's not my idea for you to be there, So if you want to be somewhere else, if that's legal, I don't know if it's legal, but I don't think you're there now for that. Excuse me for being a squeaky wheel here, but overland drainage from the east patio, how the heck do you get water out overland? I can understand a pipe and go under the house, but I think there's a requirement to go overland. You can't do that with this. I think that east elevation is really, you are just, make sure your liability insurance is well paid up. But if it's an existing wall and it's going to move and, anyway, so I would highly recommend that you reconsider that east elevation. I think it's going to be bigger, better, faster, cheaper at the end of the day to get rid of that thing, build a standard house. I think it's going to mean that little patio has more room. Chris, I hate to bring it up. We allow trees to be removed all day long. You just got to replace them. And, I think that is the tail wagging the dog. That's my personal opinion. Okay, I think that these people have issues that are integrated in with this. And to that end, I think we should do what we can to help them. I'd like to move for preliminary approval with the applicant to restudy the fenestration, to consider building a new retaining wall on the east side of the property. What else? Anything else? I heard fenestration.
Yeah, just study some of the site details. Consider integrating stone or wood.
Okay, provide finished landscape plans, right? Anything else? Are you guys good?
Yeah.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So you have your preliminary.
Thank you.
You guys at final.
Back on standard.
Yeah, there's a lot to go, yeah. Okay, item number 9, let's see, let's give it let's not give it one more time. Well, I think item number 3, something happened. Anyway, item number 9, 607 Coles, we are on for preliminary today. Majority of MBAR can support the project. Ensure architectural style as depicted on the rendering, singular, is carried throughout all elevations. Consider reducing chimney width, consider lowering roof slope, carefully consider materials and fire protection requirements. Consider adding sandstone to the first level. I'm not sure what the first level is. One member likely will not support the project with the multiple driveways and three-story element. No action taken. So you're on for prelim.
We have a
Shelby, are you here? What?
we have a memo on this one.
Oh, must be a new memo. Okay. The project meets all zoning requirements and has been reviewed by the Montecito Fire Department element based on the calculations provided by the applicant team along with detailed elevations. P&D supports the garage and other storage areas falling below the average level of the adjoining grade surface. Therefore, the basement / garage does not constitute a story, and the overall project is consistent with residential E1 zoning that allows a maximum of 2 stories. With approval of the MBAR, this project is ready for zoning approval. So we are on for preliminary. Shelby, I assume you want to start?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, board members. I'm Shelby Jenke from SEPS, agent for the owners. Here with Andrew Petrovsky, architect, and we have some other members of our team on Zoom if necessary. I'll keep my intro brief. As noted on the agenda and in Kathleen's memo, we're here for preliminary approval. We're excited to share with you our updated plans responding to your comments from the last meeting. We've taken them into consideration, and Andrew will walk you through updates made in response to those. Hopefully you'll appreciate the changes made and agree with us that the project is ready for prelim approval and to move forward for final. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, hi, Andrew Petrosky with Michael Lumber Architects. I will try to keep this presentation concise and just respond to the previous hearing comments. Ensure architectural style as depicted on the rendering is carried throughout all elevations. That's something that we are trying to take heed of with every step of design here. We're continuing to refine the style and language. Some of that is incorporated in the drawings you see today, and we're continuing to work on them. I think if we can jump to the elevation sheets, please, which might be on the second file. Oh, you were just there. The third one. Sorry about that. Over to the left.
It's a 3-arc landscape, yeah.
Kind of tying together a couple of the comments, there was a note about adding sandstone to the base of the north and west elevations. That's something that, funny enough, the last client meeting we had, the clients themselves brought that up, and they asked us to make the northern elevation a little bit more rugged and rusticated. So we've added that stone base to the left side of the north elevation. And since we drew this, we were even talking about just making that entire stair module of the building a stone element so that it really read as a strong, rugged, but refined part of the building. Consider reducing chimney width. You'll see on the top elevation there on number 2 on the right side, that chimney has been reduced in length by 5.5 feet, which is essentially about half of what it was before. Reducing the roof pitch slope. So the roofs are 4 to 12 for the southern wing, which is that big singular gable on the left side of the top elevation. And then the lower portions of the north wing are 4.5 to 12, and the uppermost is 5 to 12. So we feel like those are pretty in line with what you see with Spanish Revival architecture and terracotta tile roofs historically. Carefully consider materials and fire protection requirements. We have also taken note of your encouragement along those lines to be extra careful about the fire considerations. For that reason, we've brought a WUI building envelope consultant on board, and they're going to help advise us on basically every detail that we're drawing up, and clear up any confusion about the recent CAL FIRE maps that have changed this property to be in kind of a vague zone. So we're going to use their help on that. Consider adding sandstone to the first level. Already talked about that. One member will likely not support the project with multiple driveways and a 3-story element. So this is something that, this is the biggest change. If you go back to the first document, please, or the start of the second one, the site
Beginning of
plan.
the second.
The beginning of the second file, please. And go down a couple pages, please. It's after all the civil. There you go. That's fine. So this is something that in the last hearing, it was communicated to us that we were being a little bit too protective of the site in terms of not allowing for basic day-to-day site functionings to occur on the site, meaning things like parking, accessing utilities and other parts of the site. And we took those comments to heart, and we basically revisited the site plan access and reverse engineered it out of neighbor discussions, which I think you can all realize is probably the best way to do it around here. And we want to make sure everybody up at the top of Coles Road is happy. So here's where that left us. And I think you'll all notice that the northern drive to the garage is still there. That's something that our clients really wanted to keep in designing this for a young family. They wanted to make sure that the garage was quickly accessible from the rest of the house, not across the property. The 611 neighbor who I met with yesterday, who's directly planned north of this, is very supportive of that driveway being pushed farther west from his house than it currently is. There's currently a driveway that's about 50 feet closer to his property to the east. And also before I talk about the west turnout, every driveway you see on this plan is a private drive. So the public portion of Coles Road stops planned north about 200 feet or so. There's a circle turnaround with mailboxes. Everything you see here is a private drive. So we are trying to do our best navigating our way between interior lots here to make sure that all neighbors are satisfied. The next neighbor I'd want to talk about is the 601 neighbor who's planned west. The neighbor there has been bringing up the issue of incessant reverse beeping noises over the years from a project that was done there in 2020. And she's been pleading with us to take that into account on this plan iteration. And so between all these comments, both the MBAR comments and the neighbor comments, we introduced this turnout drive on the west side of the tennis court. And you will see that what we've done there is we've done two things. We've provided room for on-site parking, potential inevitable overflow parking, so this doesn't end up on the private driveways all the way around the neighborhood. And we've also tried to integrate the site walls of the tennis court into a discrete utility yard, meaning that the transformer, batteries, our BESS systems, solar arrays are all integrated into a wall that seemingly blends into the tennis court. And a good view of that is that rendering, which is the Cowles Court entry file.
This 607 Cowles Court entry.
Coles, apologies
Oh, sorry.
for the record.
It's that third tab right there,
Yeah.
right above your cursor.
So this is an idea of what that turnout could look like. This is the front yard, even though these are interior lots. This is what the planners deem the front yard. So we're trying to lean into that a little bit more, create a place where guests, especially those playing tennis, could be welcomed. And a lot of the back of house utility stuff could be easily accessed without trucks backing up for 200 feet up the private drive. And we are also showing some oaks in this view. If we could go to the landscape plans, please. Number 3. If that one's perfect. So the idea here, there's been a lot of conversations about oaks, but I just want to mention that the overarching idea here is instead of just mitigating any impacted oaks, we're trying to use this turnout area as an opportunity to expand the oak woodland. So you can see that there's about 7 or so oak trees that are planted along the west property line here. And that would help bring that swath of historical oak trees planned north over to the west side and wrap around, and also add to the screening from that 601 neighbor. Just a note about where we're headed in terms of finishes and materials. We don't have any catalog finishes going on this whole property, so we brought in, this is a roof tile Italian tray and barrel sample that's reclaimed that we'd like to integrate into the project. And the idea is, as we hopefully head towards the next rounds of review, that we can do this for stone, plaster, and all of that. But you won't be seeing any kind of Sherwin-Williams stuff called out on the materials plans because we're sourcing them all from artisanal sources. So I think I hit all the points. And we look forward to hearing your comments.
Start with our questions. Bill, please.
I saw, did I see a light fixture somewhere on here? Looked like a custom something.
There's a whole lighting
Number
set.
3,
Yeah.
slide number
Yeah.
3,
Okay.
At
The end of this set.
the end of this file.
PDF 11, I think.
Didn't quite look like it was night sky compliant because it looked like there was a little shield or something that was being added over it. So I just wanted to clarify that I was reading it properly, I guess. There it is. Yeah. Those are little hats or something. I'm quite not sure exactly
I
what.
think the technical term was a snoot. It's kind of
snoot.
funny.
Don't know that.
And I,
I'm gonna be snooty
Bill,
and
the question you want
yeah.
to ask is, are you aware of the newly adopted lighting ordinance?
yes, that's the question I wanted to
And
ask.
it's discussion about glare. You know what glare is?
yes.
What's glare?
Glare is a phenomenon caused by fixtures reflecting into.
Glare is where you can see the light bulb itself,
Source, yeah.
light bulb itself, horizontally or, that's glare. Okay.
Okay. Okay. The elevation of the garage structure, I missed the last meeting. Did you sink that into the ground more than our story pole site visit out there? Or is it
No, it's remained the same
same height?
floor
then?
elevation.
Okay.
Although we drastically altered the elevation of what we used to call the tower. It used to read as much more of a tower element.
So did this, if I was to see the story poles today, would it have been lower than what we saw?
The overall massing would be
Was
greatly
lower.
reduced visually.
Okay. By how much?
The width of the tower got reduced by, I don't know, a good 6 feet or so, I want to say.
The width
Hard to-
came in
it's been through a
narrower
couple
and
of
that dropped the
iterations.
pitch of the roof and
Yes,
so the massing of the whole thing got smaller.
yes.
And on that structure, you have stone on the east side. Did you consider doing stone on the west and wrapping the whole base at one point? Because you only show it on the, if you're looking at that elevation from the street on the left side, but it doesn't go around to the right either. Had you considered doing the whole thing, I guess, is the base?
If we could
Go
go
to
back
that
to the elevation page, I think it'd be helpful just so I have a clear understanding of
Yeah.
being referred to.
There we go. Yeah, the north elevation, you have the stone on the left side, but it doesn't go on the right side, huh? Or it doesn't, it's not the whole base of that lower level, huh?
Correct, but what doesn't read well in the plans here is that the walls flanking the garage, the sunken in portion would also be boulders. It's just more of a landscape detail than an architectural detail, which is why you don't read it on these drawings.
And would you consider bringing that wainscot that you have on the left side all the way around and keeping it the same elevation?
I think we could consider it, yes.
Yeah, just to kind of help it nestle into those. That's all I have. Thanks.
Rob, questions, please?
Can we go to the landscape plan, please? The other, right there. Just of a graphic note, it's really hard to read the plan when the oak trees are kind of shaded so dark and not, more transparent. Often, they'll color the trees will get colored lighter and the understory gets colored darker, and it tends to read a little better because the light's hitting from the top anyhow. That's why you, anyways, on the rain garden, I'm trying to understand how that works because I'm just, and that kind of goes in conjunction with some of the Wheelo calcs, and I'm just trying to understand what the rain garden is. Is the landscape architect here? And
Yeah, he should be on, Scott Schrader.
oh,
Yeah, but
so what is the vision for the rain garden? What are the plants in there? And then I see it's overhead sprayed. So I'm trying to understand because I looked at some of the things that are being overhead sprayed that I wouldn't tend to overhead spray, and then so I'm just trying to get a feel for where you're going with that. Please.
Okay. So I think Civil handed that for us, didn't he, Andrew?
The stormwater is, yeah, that was handled by Civil. Maybe.
No, it's not stormwater, Wheelo. I asked, I was talking Wheelo. So I was talking about the rain garden. What I'm just, mostly I'm looking conceptually, what is the rain garden for those areas? What are the plants in there, and what's the vision of that? I'm not completely understanding.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have those details in front of me, quite honestly, unfortunately, but I'm sure that we'll certainly follow whatever regulations there are for the Wheelo calculations for the plant material.
And Dave, I don't know if you could zoom into that plant key that might shed a little light on it. In the lower right.
But we just have all of our trees and our shrubs, and not really the
Understory of that. I actually thought I saw lavender was in there. I just don't, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, lavender wouldn't be in there.
Yeah, no, that doesn't seem like a rain garden kind of plant. That's why I was confused by that. And then could you go to your Wheelo calcs for a second too? I have a question there that. I forget which sheet that was on. It was in that package. Yeah, that right there. If you're scrolling on the Wheelo, I just wanted to, just go to the right a little bit. And so our astute chair picked this up. Rain garden overhead, the coefficients on that are like 0.4. I just did some quick math on that because I have a spreadsheet that I use, and all I had to do was go to 0.5, which is still low for that, and you don't comply. So I think that needs to be looked at, and I'm just curious how that develops because it's kind of a nice idea. I just think you need to kind of try to help understand what what those areas are and what they're about. I don't really understand what you're trying to do, but mostly I just want to that That's my questions right there, so.
Tip, questions, please.
David, can you go back to the elevation, please? Next one. So, okay, yeah. So which ones? You said the pitch is between 412 and 512.
Correct.
So like the south, the north, those are all 512.
The southern wing, which is the big gable, that's 4 to 12. The lower pitches of the northern wing, which is the right on drawing 2, that's 4.5 to 12. And then the uppermost is 5 to 12.
Which one, 512?
At the very top of that garage
Right-hand
wing,
side.
the right side of the
So in the same building, you are changing between 5 and 4,
between
little bit.
5 and 4.5
5 and 4.5.
on that wing, and then on the other wing it's 4.
I'm talking about the separate building, the one with the garage, that little building. Is it all 512, 412, or 4.5, 5?
It's
Tiny building on the right,
the tiny,
not the big one. The garage building.
yeah, at the top of the garage building, that's 5 to 12. And the lower sheds on that are 4.5 to 12.
But the shed belonged to the garage building.
Yes, it's all the same building.
So my question was, in the same building, you have 2 pitches.
Yes.
And why is that?
It's a very common traditional architecture detail to have slight nuanced roof slope adjustments based off of the scale of the massing for the house. If you think of a 4 square house and you have a big roof on it, that could be one pitch that's more dramatic, and then the entry could be, one roof slope pitch down, just to give some hierarchy, or the other way around.
So what, is it true?
They're harking back to medieval times when
different time.
it's, just build the darn thing and, let's use that roof material, That's
They
what
didn't have-
they're harking back to that.
Framing squares.
Okay, so that's what I'm.
Oh,
trying to get to
I-
the bottom of it.
Yeah, okay, good.
All right, that was my question, because if it's not noticeable, then I would be better off. Okay.
Okay, so,
That was my question.
I want to go back to the MBAR's current approach on Wheelo. We believe that people in Montecito want to live large. We believe that they don't want to barely survive. The Wheelo calculations give 2 columns of numbers. The one on the left is not here, but in the Wheelo tables, is barely survive during drought conditions. Living large is the number on the right. And we think that all land, I have never met somebody that's coming through here that doesn't want to live large. And therefore we ask, please approve us for the minuscule amount of water, and then immediately they use more water. And so we want to be truthful about what is happening. We are currently in El Nino neutral. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but not El Nino and not La Nina. The ENSO report came out, I don't know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We're in ENSO neutral. So we're good. But at some point, as Tip has pointed out, anyone that's lived in this area, there's going to be some tough droughts coming up in front of us. So we want to make sure that the plants that we're approving can survive through that by shrinking down to the lower number. Okay, so if you could please go and use living large numbers in all your low calcs, it will affect your project. I guarantee it. Okay?
Noted.
And besides that, I have no more questions. Public comment, or I guess that was a question. Don't you agree is the question. Okay. Public comment, item number 9, 607 Coles Road. Anybody, please?
Like to speak on the, speak on this item, go ahead and raise your hand. No hands raised.
We are on for preliminary. It requires 3 votes. Okay, so comments, please. Bill, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was like, I think I was first.
Remember your
I
name.
couldn't remember.
Had 2 L's in it.
John, wake up.
No, it's not that.
No.
You guys try being chairman.
I know,
Oh,
I've
Bill.
tried it. Okay, no, I appreciate the efforts that you've put forward here. I like, originally I was having a little trouble with the garage because of the height. I think it would help if you could take and carry that stone around. Maybe there are large boulders that nestle into it, however you're going to do that. But that would help kind of ground that and maybe disguise the garage for me and make it help it feel like it's really 2 stories on top of a stone base. So that's one thing I can go with. The drive, that was a question before I missed the last meeting, but the drive that circles around at your tennis court, because it's a private road, I feel less opposing to that. It's almost by your illustration, which was very helpful. It felt more like it was a pullout on your own driveway, which is shared, just happens to be shared. Now, the material that you use in there and how you landscape it and how you diminish the feel of that and not make it feel like it's a big to-do would be helpful. So whatever you can do to kind of make that disguised and more, maybe it's gravel, I don't know, country style. And then just to, make sure when you come back with details that you have a night sky compliant light fixture, one that doesn't allow you to see the source. And there are new ordinances, which I'm not familiar with completely yet either, that have to do with, I think, the wattage level possibly. Is it not?
Yes and no.
Yeah. So take a look at that, and then we look forward to seeing how you detail everything. So I'm fine with it, giving it preliminary from my end. Thank you.
Rob, comments, comments.
Yeah, I like what just about everything Bill said, and I think I might have been the one that originally pushed on the garage, having the stone. I think that's really important. For exactly what Bill said is that it has, it grounds it, it has the ability to make the whole building feel more rustic and buried in the ground, and I think it'll make it less, not feel as tall. I definitely like what you did with the chimney. And overall, I appreciate, the way you presented this project. You folks have been just great at walking us through everything one step at a time and responding to, a lot of very detailed or input from us. So I appreciate your efforts to make this project better. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing it kind of move forward. I know it's going to be really nice. So thank you.
Tip, comments, please.
First of all, I think that reducing the chimney is definitely, in my opinion, is a big help from what you had from last time. However, it's the building is definitely not my favorite. I think it's a tiny, low building. And the reason I'm asking a question about the roof pitch is that I could see, if you have a very big buildings, you can build 2 times, and every time, the next generation build it, and when another architect come in and try to add something, and then does it look like what it was be originally or not, and that's kind of the history architecture in a way, when you look at all the old buildings, the new buildings. But if, some of the buildings were designed by one, architect, and usually, it's very cohesive in the past, from the Roman time to Spanish to the medieval, and so when I look at this tiny little thing, and I see a problem from last time with the roof, the pitch of the roof. And on one side you have a gable, the other side you have a hip. And I know maybe that's the intention, try to make like it been built through 30, 40 years. but it's a brand new building, and this could be a very beautiful building, and I just feel like it's kind of miss it. It's some elevation I like it, but then I look at the other elevation, I kind of, oh, it looks a little odd. Just like, you have a little overhang over the curved door on the east elevation coming out a little bit, and then the shade roof that kind of rather steep in my opinion, 512, that most of the Spanish building during that generation, the pitch is about 3.5 to 412 max. You rarely go to 512. You go back to what, the 20s or 30s, and it's always very low pitch roof. And now you have something that's low, much higher, and then you have the opening down to the garage. And you look at that, from a perspective from front on the garage door, the same massing at the roof. And then you have the ground go into the plaster around the door. And then on the other elevation, you have a nice stone base. So it seemed to me like it could be much better. That's how I see it, especially for the scale of the building and the way, the size and location. And so I still have a problem with this building right here.
To the point that you won't vote for preliminary?
The thing is that this is how I see it. It's a small enough building. No, it doesn't affect the public. It's a private use, and I don't want to hold you up, but I just feel that it could be a missed opportunity to make something much better than what's here. So so that's why I don't want to hold back the project, but if other members had a problem with that, then I'd like to improve on it. But if not, then I want to let it.
Can I just add to that? Couple things, and I completely agree with the roof line where it's clipped, the gable, that does look odd, so I completely agree with you. That's why preliminary things like that can maybe be fixed or looked at during this process. And also, the one thing that you got going that's not shown in the elevations is you're buried in oak trees. And that's the one thing at least will kind of help maybe hide some of those things, but it'd be nice if they stand on their own, so.
Just to add to your comments too, I mean, we're used to kind of not completely symmetrical and sort of planned. This is whimsical in every direction, right? It's not what we're used to seeing. So, yeah, could there be some little tweaks to the roof line? Maybe that was a hip on all sides. That's not what they're wanting to do, though. So, would that make it better? Maybe. Would the stone added? Maybe. So, but it is kind of this whimsical, kind of fun, playful sort of a thing. And
Whimsical. You look at the work of Jeff Shelton. That's whimsical.
Sure. Yeah. A little more uniformity.
Yeah,
there.
uniformity is whimsical.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, this to me, it seemed like it's not really. I wouldn't use the word whimsical in this case because it's not that whimsical. It's just different.
Yeah, mishmash. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway.
Okay, so back in England in the 1700s, they built these on these very large estates where Winston Churchill lived in it more in the early 1900s. They built these little whimsical, and they called them architectural folly. Okay, so that's what that element is. And I was very supportive of the yoga studio, even though I think it's taller than this on the other parcel, but it was buried in the middle of the site and you couldn't see it from outside. This, I know it's a private driveway, but it's not, people are going to drive up by it. I just can't vote for this because of the garage below. On preliminary, now preliminary and final are very different votes. So I know I'm gonna vote for final on this, but I'm not gonna vote for this today. And I've been clear about that from day one. I've just been hoping against hope that you guys would change it so I could, but not. In the lighting ordinance, the sort of the operable word that you want to look at is called translucent. That's the word they use in the ordinance. God bless them, they don't define it. Okay? But it's generally milk glass. It's not seated glass. You can't see the element. Okay? So something like that.
How visible is this project on Cold Road? Because you can drive.
Okay, so what happens is you drive up Coles Road and there's a big turning circle.
Right.
That's the end of the public road. And then beyond that is where these guys are, and there's the big project up at the top. There's a woman on the right-hand side. I think there's another one on the right-hand side. And then there's one that goes down in front of this driveway, that it goes down to someone else's yard, but there's a gate. So I think there's 4 houses or 5 houses. I'm surprised they called that a front yard, by the way, when they classified it that way. I don't think it's front yard. I think it's a side yard. But also, I don't believe your turnaround radius to get into that little thing. I don't think you can get somebody around there. I could be wrong. I hope I am. Please check it on with a template. Down by the tennis court. Okay. So.
I did for the big house.
So we are on for preliminary. If Tip doesn't want to give approval, you don't get it today. There are 3 members that should be back next meeting.
Oh, I'm gonna, unless Bill, you were about to do that. I was gonna make a motion for preliminary approval.
Could we get excuse me, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? I was just going to ask if we could perhaps get a sense of the votes, just given there's only 4 members here today.
I was about to, you're.
Okay, I
thinking I'd
think that
give
her,
hers.
no, she's okay, because if we vote, it's sort of a little bit more important than if we don't vote. So yes or no?
Yeah, I was gonna vote for it with
Yeah,
comments.
Yes or no?
Well, I would like I would support it if they change the roof pitch to at least 412 and not 5 and 4 mixing in one building. Well,
It's like the incorporate or study. What about just comments to study or look at that at least, or?
yeah, with the comment that I like to first, I like the roof pitch to be 412, and then to if you can restore the upper roof. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too troubling about the 3-story, the garage and the building. I'm more about what we see on top. I think that's a heavy thing you can see as you drive by.
It's a folly.
Yeah.
They don't want it to be a hip. They don't want it to be a gable. They want it to be odd. They want it to be unique. You know, they want it to be different. They want it to be, so is that wrong? I'm opposed to it just by that whole 3-story mass right on the property line. But in terms of the building, I think it's kind of a cool building.
That's what I would support that motion. Yeah.
With what?
So,
It's a 412.
Let him make the motion.
so,
Let
yeah,
him-
motion for preliminary approval, with, the various comments, which includes to, change the roof line to a 4 and 12.
No, roof pitch.
Roof pitch to a 4 and 12, to consider, and study the roof to maybe, incorporate a hip on that.
Study the upper roof to make it whimsical, but maybe a little more cohesive.
I like that. On the garage.
And if for any reason it didn't work from a building section perspective, would you be okay meeting in the middle at 4.5 to 12?
Well, I think the building is small enough. You can either you go with one or the other.
Okay.
If it was me, on building that scale, because usually I probably want to stick to 3.5, 12, because you look at some of the Spanish building that time about 3.5, 12, not even 4.
Okay,
So
good. So
that's,
I interject here. Your question suggests that you don't have to have a preliminary tonight.
Well, we'd really like prelim, but I was just
Michael?
hoping to get a sense of the votes again, given that there were only
You
4.
don't have, we had an applicant earlier that had problems with escrow and bank loans and stuff. So do you have anything like that, please? That you have to have a preliminary tonight. The reason I ask is you're coming back here again.
Mhm.
We can continue you with these comments, put you on for prelim final.
You know, my take on that is that, if I were you, if it was you, I would take the preliminary approval and
Okay.
work with it. That's my opinion, but
What do you want to do? Do you want to change the roof around or not, please?
Yeah, I think we would take the preliminary approval with that condition to study the roof.
Okay.
Okay, so there's some more comments to add to that motion then. So to keep going, to incorporate stone wainscot all the way around the building, which may
Which
include
building?
the garage.
Okay.
Which could also include large boulders to ground the structure. There was to basically study the light to make it dark sky compatible or compliant. One sconce.
Consistent with the zoning ordinance.
Okay. And then to study the rain garden and the landscape plan to make sure that it complies with WELO and includes looking at the coefficients that currently don't seem to jive.
Is there a second for that, please?
I'll second that.
You okay with that motion?
Yes,
You're sure?
as sure as we're gonna be.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Congratulations. We'll see you back for final at the full board. Okay,
Mr. Chair, before we take a motion to adjourn.
now we're not, we have item 3 at
Yes,
least.
that's what I was.
Okay, item number 3, is there anybody here that would like to have a presentation on 319 Hot Springs Road, please?
No one present.
I move to continue item number 3 to a future agenda. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
All those in favor?
I
Aye. All those opposed?
also
Okay, so is there a motion for
make a
adjournment?
motion to adjourn this meeting of May 15th, 2025.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.